All right, episode 41. Thank you for listening, guys. So as always, we are sponsored by the fabulous Usk Stoves. So NP40JL, log burners, stoves, boilers, all of your heating needs, they will sort you out. 10% off. Just say that you're a fan of the podcast. Go in, mention Sam, Charlie, the S&C Hour. You get 10% off absolutely everything. Thank you as always, guys.
Banging. And we're back. Episode 41 of the podcast. And we have the pleasure of talking to, I would say, one of the pioneers of weightlifting in the country, a proven elite level coach, Justin Holly.
Thank you.
How are you?
I have to say the studio's a lot smaller. I got nowhere to put my book.
Sam, good to see you, sir. I didn't know you'd come prepared with a book, but of course you have.
Of course you
I was going to come in with like
full
piles
lectures
of stuff. Just like, right, what are we going to talk coaching today? What are we going to do? Let me just say, the first time I ever met Sam, right?
Oh,
he
right,
came
straight in.
with another Sam, who I called Sam.
Sam.
Right? Because I couldn't, like, he got away with it because there was Sam and Sam. I was like, fuck, how am I going to sort this pair out? Like, so he got called Sam and the other one got called Sam.
Sam.
Do you remember how we differentiated that?
I don't know.
I jerked more than him that day, so I got to be Sam and he got to be Sam.
Meritocracy.
Yeah,
fantastic.
it works.
There we are.
The strongest Sam prevails.
That like the entry story, if you like, of people coming into the gym for the first time. You'll have it here, you know, wherever you're coaching. Like there's going to be nerves, and you're gonna do something to establish, you know, the foundation of your relationship or whatever it is. And mine was always like, I'm not going to remember these names. Like, yeah, I'm gonna give you a name, right? Yeah. And that was a perfect. I would have made somebody out-jerk someone else.
Yeah,
what did you jerk? 95.
Oh, I can't remember. I remember what platform it was. I remember jerking more than him, and
I think his jerk was in the 80s.
Yeah, I think you said you have to just accept that Sam's going to be better at something. Sam, and that was it. Then he was Sam forever.
That's it. Right.
Yeah.
Let us begin.
Yeah. So we want to go right back to the beginning, if I'm honest. So if we can take you back to, first of all, where did you start with Olympic lifting as an athlete before you became the coach? Could we dabble into why you started Olympic lifting before you went into coaching?
So viewers, right, I prepared for this question. And then I thought to myself, why don't I just ask myself a better question? We're not going to answer that. I'll just ask myself a better question. Anyway, I will answer it. We started training in a commercial gym. And that was like Sporta, Virgin, whatever. And it was myself, Will, Dan, Claire, Kitty sometimes, you know. There was like 4 or 5 of us. And the sort of beginning of it was like, what are we going to do today? Because that's what you do when you don't know how to train.
Yeah.
Is what are we doing today? And everyone would sort of look at me and go, what are we doing? And I'd say, well, we'll do this then. And we were doing things like running upstairs, doing some kettlebells, you know, but no technique whatsoever. Then we saw Kerry lift from Newport CrossFit. What's it called? Celtic, yeah. So Kerry was in the gym doing cleans or something. I was like, what the fuck is he doing? The most, like, what's that? Went over to him, said, what are you doing? Right? And so technically, I suppose he would be my first coach because he was lifting. Then he would opened up Kelly CrossFit. We would go down there. I didn't really like CrossFit. I liked technical slow burns. That's what I liked. I enjoyed doing kettlebells, and I enjoyed doing lifting. And so the technical side of it started to really appeal to me. And it was at the same time that they banned, you know, barbell lifting in Virgin.
Yeah. Couldn't drop bars. Right?
Couldn't drop bars. Couldn't do all that. We had our own equipment. Which we kept in the cupboard. And when it was all the local people, right, when it was a Sporter, Di Richards and his brother, and Lucy was down there as well.
Lucy, yeah.
It was like, yeah, whatever, put it in the cupboard, you know, thing. And then they said, no, you're going to have to take all your equipment out. Blah, blah. So I said, fuck it, let's go, we're done. Found the basement, right? Its own story, but
we'll come to that.
Brief this. Found the basement, and that was it. We
found a home,
equipment in, and we just started training from there, like privately. And it sort of, I know it grew, but it sort of was always private. You know, you go into the interview process or whatever. It wasn't a then
talk about that. Show up and have a go.
It wasn't just you had to be invited, like, or you had to be
vouched for.
You had to know somebody and whatever. And that, because in the early days, that's how it started. It was somebody asked to come in. who I didn't know, but that person knew. And then it was like, oh yeah, it was this person, that person, that person. And people just started to gravitate to that space for whatever reason. Outside of the fact that it is probably one of the finest weightlifting spaces you could ever wish to
have,
fall into, right? Look at the way it's built. All of the things that make a weightlifting space great, that little basement had. It's just like, okay, who knew that? I didn't know that. It's just
fate.
Yes. You sometimes have to follow your instinct to say, I think I'm doing the right thing at the right time here. That was my feeling for coaching, and coaching weightlifting specifically, because even though I had no weightlifters, bearing in mind, there was just me, Will, Claire, like we did weightlifting, but they preferred running, CrossFit stuff and just like hard, like just blasting themselves. I was never a blaster, never enjoyed blasting. And so that, I fell into the allure of the technical side of it. I thought, I like this. There's a lot of technique involved. There's my attributes to be a coach were all fulfilled. I've got good eyes, good mind. I can read things, situations well. It's like, this is fucking perfect. Absolute piece of piss.
But you naturally became it because people just naturally looked to you for advice to start with, kind of thing.
People, even competent people outside of the gym, require leadership in the gym.
Yes,
and so it's about leadership was never something that really bothered me. I was like, I like taking responsibility for things. I was like, I can do this. I shall make up so I just write stuff on the board. We'll do this, we'll do that, and somewhere out there is a blog that I started about like weightlifting coaching. Not just for personal notes, just a training record to say this week it's like this. My fucking knees are sore. Everything hurts. I don't know why I'm doing 20 snatches on the minute. Like just stuff like that.
You almost don't get to choose the leadership role though. It just falls into place. Like I remember you saying before about the alpha of the gym, and you said, well, Geordie's the strongest. He said, he's not the fucking alpha though.
Well, there's different types of alpha, isn't there? There's the training alpha. Like, I was never the training alpha.
Yeah.
Anybody could outlift me, but so it wasn't about that. It was about leadership and knowledge and more about you're going to be there first thing in the morning for them. You're going to open the doors and you're never letting them down and like all of that sort of thing. And then suddenly we're winning, and then so before we jump ahead to like that sort of stuff. So it was like, it was leadership, it was responsibility, it was technical. I enjoyed it. I just come from, QVC on the telly. So it was different to that. I was in one place at one time. I wasn't just spreading myself thin. I like long hours, right? I think if you're going to be a coach, serious one, you better like the hours, and as you are going to find out soon, is it all knowledge?
Yeah. Knowledge, yeah.
As you're going to find out, and you every time you're in the gym, we're your family, right? And the gym requires you at breakfast and dinner. When your kids are eating. And so I never saw my son have breakfast and I never saw him have dinner because I was in the gym, right? So, but I could pick him up from school. That was great, and he could come to the gym, because Katie would bring him in the gym, he'd mess around, whatever. But I didn't see breakfast and I didn't see dinner 4 days a week, if you like. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday.
Yeah.
Right? Thursday was my day off. I don't know if it's International Weightlifters Day off, but Thursday
seems like it.
Seems to be the day of rest, if you like. And that was so. I didn't think about it in those terms. I've reflected on it in those terms now, but I didn't think. I'm just a fucking right. We're going.
Yeah.
And the pace that I move at, people just get sucked into that orbit, and they're like, I think we're all moving at the same pace.
We got to go.
Right.
Yeah, we got to go.
I'm going this way. This is the direction we're going. So, which sounds. I mean, without experience, that might be a little bit like hubrisy, but it wasn't like that. I was very patient with the process. I never rushed anything. I'm very cautious as a prescriber of. I'm the first person to say, put it down. That's it. We're done.
Yeah.
Not go again. The times that I would say go and the times I would say stop. It's like there's way more. Okay, I think we're done. It's not worth the next lift.
No,
that is never worth the next lift. So put the fucking equipment away. Do your accessories. Not that I ever programmed accessories. Accessories. Like, so again, that's something that I was like who needs to be programmed to do a tricep thing or sort
Just
that
go
out.
do it. Yeah.
So the meat and drink of your the way you're guiding the development of the athlete is is going to be the classical stuff. If you're a weightlifting coach, like if you're a multi-sports coach, then that's a different sort of conversation, but the principles are still the same. And I think early doors, we did conditioning with kettlebells and we did stuff like that. And that was sort of took care of, the accessory work.
Yeah.
Because we just do like
long cycles and the willpower complex.
Willpower complex came from was just a way of doing something that was a circle at the end of doing snatch, clean, and jerk, squat.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like, okay. Or I'd warm up with it. I'd do a 24 kilo complex as my warm up. Say, right, okay, pretty good. Check the knees.
And then in you go.
I'd always squat first.
Yeah.
As an athlete, squat first. I was an older man, so I was in my 40s, I suppose. Would have been. Yeah, I was late 30s. Spencer was born in 12, so I was 40 going 41. I needed to squat. I needed to get those fucking knees warm. And I was a tractor. I was slow. I wasn't fast. So I was very efficient as a lifter and slow, which is, one is a great combination. The other one is not.
No.
So there was always a point at which everything would just like come to a grinding halt.
Yeah.
So I think that you have to cut your cloth accordingly. And you've trained athletes who are fast, or you've been in the company of athletes who are just moving way faster than you're moving, right? And you're like, I don't move that fast.
Yeah. It's just not going to work.
I could train for another decade and not move that fast.
No, it's just natural.
So you have what you have, exactly. And there are certain things that you can improve on. You can relatively increase your own speed and things like that. But I was always slow, but I was very efficient, and I really liked the battle of 6 a.m. training, where
the mental aspect as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not going to take a step. I am going to lift, and it's going to be perfect. And you better be along for the ride, because I'm going to fucking cripple you with verbal chastisement if you're not up to my standard.
So this is one of the questions I had from you as an athlete. You just mentioned about taking a step and holding yourself accountable to a standard. So that was definitely something that you took then into your coaching as well. Was that automatic as an athlete?
I wouldn't say it was conscious, only because I enjoyed the sort of like self-torture of making yourself better.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
and then I would have very short thrift with whoever I was training with if they didn't have the same passion to want to better themselves. And so, for example, you'd have somebody you were training with, let's say Twain, because Twain's perfect for this.
Yeah.
Right? So Tom, a bit way better athlete than me, less efficient, right? And he would get frustrated with himself. And I wouldn't coach him as he was on his way up to his lifts or anything. If I'm lifting, I'm not coaching.
Yeah.
So I was it's not selfish. I needed to be in my own space.
You have to be.
I have to be in my own place. And so Tom would just be there like this, looking at the floor, forlorn, shaking his head, being frustrated with himself. And I would just going bang, 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 hitting them down the line. And I would taunt him. I would say, when are you going to fucking miss, Tom? You're going to fucking miss next. When are you taking a step? And then he'd take a step, and then he would just throw them. I could just see it riling in the whole time. Because you have to realize that, your training partner is your best ally, and I want to help him as his training partner, and he needs to help me by raising his standard. If his standard's too low, then you're going to be held accountable for it, and you're going to get chastised. But also, he pushed me way more, because he was a better lifter, and I didn't want to. I'd be like, I know he can snatch in the 90s. I don't think I'd snatch 90 at the time. This would have been 2014, 15, maybe. Around 2014, 15, anyway. And so I was like, I just want to, because he could hit a 90 and then but missed 5 times at 85.
Yeah, okay.
That for me, I could make all of them at 85, maybe make 88, and if I missed it, I'd stop, and then I come down, do my doubles.
Okay.
So it was one of those relationships with Tom and I where I just never spoke to him, only to chastise him.
Yeah.
If we were training together, and then it was like, yeah, come on. Who's going to win?
A back and forth battle.
Back and forth.
Yeah.
Because it's not about lifting more than the other person if they're a better athlete than you. It's about lifting with higher quality.
Yes.
Because quality is the first driver of. So when you're developing your own mastery as an athlete, as the coach, watching the athlete's mastery develop, that's your responsibility to assist them in that, because without it, they'll never reach full potential. They're more likely to become injured and so on. So there's a whole cascade of things, and it's not even a principle, it's a law that you have to develop your own degree of mastery given your individual biomechanics, which maybe we can talk about also. Anyway,
Yeah.
Right, next question.
Yeah. So in terms of then, you talked about different weightlifters then, different qualities, different biomechanics. What qualities do you think make a good weightlifter? Not in terms of just body, but mindset.
You have to have the appetite.
Yes.
You have to have a real, like, thirst for, like, the perverseness of weightlifting.
Yeah.
It's
a hard sport.
It's ridiculous. Because I was thinking over the last couple of days, and I was thinking, well, you know, weightlifters are right in the crest, like, all the time. There's no off season. There's just pre-competition, competition, pre-competition, competition, pre-competition, competition, and it's just every single this. So it's you have to be a little bit odd. It's a bit like the circus. You're going to get the odd ones coming to get trained if they want to be a weightlifter. If you want to play, I don't know, hockey, badminton, rugby, then I don't know that you ever need to touch 90%. I don't need you to even why would you even risk going to places that could create a injury on an athlete when it's not even their sport? Weightlifters don't have a choice. Like, you have to. And so the appetite, you know, I want to look someone in the eye and think, because my old sort of phrase, if you like, was like, I'm here for 10 years. And I don't know if you're going to stick fucking 10 years out of it, but I will. And I would be there for that athlete over that duration, because I know it's going to take us a long time to get you to the point that you say you want to be. So forget the mechanics. You know, all right, you know, you can't be like 6'4" and like crazy legs crane. That's, choose a different sport in reality. But if you've got the thirst and the appetite, then you work with what you have.
Work around it.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, and I don't recommend short forearms.
No.
Because if you're like a little dinosaur
T-Rex,
and you can't put this hand on that shoulder, that's really
not the sport for
Yeah.
you. When you said about 90%, then is that specifically to Olympic lifts for if you were doing athletes, or is
No,
it just
like you know, if you think what is their output, right? If their output is scrummaging, running, short sprints, turning, change of direction, you know, what is the value? I'm going to spend a lot of time in a squat rack. And do I spend that time in a squat rack? And why would I need to elevate beyond something, right? Give me a best 3. Give me a best 5, right? Is that reasonable for the output of that athlete, given the fact that they don't do weightlifting? Or it's not necessary for them to be... Is it better that they're at 220 on their back squat, or 215, or 200, or 190 for a good set of 5? There's more risk going up there.
Yeah.
If they don't train it like weightlifters train it, which is every day. So given the fact that their output is different, I would be basing my analysis, if you like, on what method I'm going to use, and distribution and intensity, based upon like what is their output 95% of their life, right? Which is basically they hit a ball with a stick, or they run, they sprint, they tackle, or whatever it is. Yeah. So, and bearing in mind that I'm talking about a trained athlete.
Yes.
If you come in the gym and you don't have a base of training, well, you're going to sit in the squat rack for a long time. Like,
build something. Yeah.
You have to look at the development of your athletes over a longer term, and we'll come on to this when we get into the degrees of thinking as a coach. Like, how do you think? What is, you know, when you spend 15 hours a day in a gym, you do a lot of thinking, right? You see a lot of lifting, you do a lot of thinking, and, you know, you go a little bit stir crazy, but you have to think, right? And your thinking has to be along the laws and principles of the known theories, if you like, and methods and means of like principled structured development and training. So if you apply it simply, then you're going to get a really good result. It's like safeguarding... but saving coaches wasting their time on unnecessary complex thoughts.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, don't overthink, don't over program, don't like literally, I tried to write all of weightlifting coaching on one sheet of paper. I haven't quite got there yet, right? On the things that you need to really consider and focus on, etc. because when you get a program, whether it be you write a program, it's 6 doubles at 80%. It's like, oh, right. So why is it so simply written and it's so convolutedly explained?
Yeah.
Right? So there's a lot of convolutedness in sports science.
Yeah.
And you've got to just get through all of that, rummage away, pick out the laws, select good principles, and then it becomes easy to write. With all the reason that you're writing 6 doubles at 80% becomes obvious.
Yeah.
Like, that's where you need to be as a coach who programs, because not all coaches will program.
No.
You know, and so on and so forth. Right.
I think I've put it here. I think something that you did really well, or extremely well as a coach, was you kept everything, like you just said there, so simple in the way that you explained things. So the way, if I was to have done something wrong or right, or you needed to correct something, you never explained it in crazy amounts of depth or different wording. You would
I barely spoke to you.
Yeah, you would very rarely kind of come over, thumbs up, thumbs down. You would show me a position, or you would put me in a position. Yeah, you would just give me.
My main one would be my cane or whatever I was using, and I would be like, and I would just shake my head. I put the cane back so it's like it looks off balance, and go, and then bring it forward and go. Like that.
But when you're 6 sets deep and you're tired, I don't need someone to come over and give me a 30-minute speech on what I did wrong. I just need something very simple so I can just say, okay, next lift, I'll try and do this.
A lot of it is distraction.
Yes, yeah.
Right? Yeah, one of the most effective methods that I have of coaching is A, say fuck all, and B, distract your athlete.
Yes.
Right? So invariably it goes wrong from the floor.
Yeah.
Something has not happened that should happen. And so that's where I would go, and you would just get a thumbs up from me, exactly, yes.
Yeah.
And then you go back into it, and then you probably make the lift.
Yeah.
Not because of coaching, but because of no interference, right?
Yeah.
You've got a different thread in your mind. Your head is clear now. You've got a thought, a direction which is clear, and you've just applied it.
Yeah.
Done. That's it.
Something you said that to me once. You said, as a coach, you should talk less and listen more, and just wait for something to just observe.
You're observing the whole time.
Yeah, and then when it needs to be changed, change. When it doesn't, let it happen.
Just let it be. Right, leave things alone. And you know, outside of the style of your athletes' requirements and the style of your coaching, which may not always marry.
No, of course.
Right?
Different people require different things.
Or you'd be an athlete like Sam, who would pop in and come in for like a 4-month period, and then disappear again. Not disappear, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
You'd come in, say, right, I want to work on this. Can we work on this together? So, yep, lovely. Yeah. Work on that, and then you'd go, and then you'd sort of sort things out in your own head. It's like, yeah. Or we'd message, or I'd say something to you and say, what is the reason that you've done this, Sam? Or you've chosen that, or whatever it was. Or I think, you know, I would just message you from maybe a year later, or something like that. And you're trying to provoke a thought in a coach's mind and no thoughts in an athlete's mind.
Yeah.
Right? Big distinction. Coaches, like speaking to you as coaches today, it's all about thinking. It's about stuff, and things that seem or appear complicated. They may be complex as in multi-layered, but they're not complicated. Right? They're very simple. And so it's shaking everything out, changing the language so it's most basic, which is something that I love. That's why I write everything down. Then I write it again. Then I write it again. I'm all constantly filtering to make the language as simple as possible so I can explain it in simple terms, which means I understand it completely. Because if I'm complicated with my explanations, I don't really understand the subject matter.
Ashley Amos, who we're both familiar with, was coaching the other day, jiu-jitsu, and he said, it's hard to make it easy and it's easy to make it hard. And it almost seems the better you understand it, the more simply you can put it.
100%.
Yeah.
And that's your goal. Is I would hear myself talking sometimes. Oh my God, fucking hell.
I've just waffled
I would
a bit
bore
there.
myself.
Yeah.
Right? So it goes that way, you know, and I can talk, believe you me. When I'm coaching, I don't want to talk.
Yeah.
In fact, one of the stages of success as a coach is to actually be able to sit in your training environment, not saying anything and watching everything. Right?
I think everyone at Willpower understands the not the fear, but the dread of the dreaded knock on the window. Once you miss a lift, you try and hide the fact you've missed the lift, you sit down and you just hear on the duk, 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 you, and you oh no.
Yeah, well, that's it's like a pantomime.
Yeah.
Right? Because you have to keep the level of seriousness in your gym high, and that requires discipline. If it's like a party, then you can't. The knock on the door doesn't mean anything.
No one cares.
No one cares. So when we were blessed with great training environment. For us, it doesn't suit everyone, whatever. But ours was like it just. Can you ever pick out a moment? I was like, what are my moments? Like I've got moments that I think about.
This is one of
right. But the best moment for me was every fucking training session. Something could happen.
Yeah.
That you didn't know
something wild.
Happening.
Yeah.
Somebody would do something, and you're like, it would bring the charge of the atmosphere. What everybody knew at the gym was that they knew your story. They knew how hard you worked for that next lift.
Yeah.
Or worked for that quality. Or worked because you were rehabbing an injury. And now you're... right? They knew everything about you because the same people met at the same time, in the same place. You had a job to actually get rid of people. They would come in early and maybe sit in the red brick or try and sit in my fucking office. And right, do you remember I'd say to Wesley, you'd be on the sofa, Jody would be on the sofa, Michael would be on, there'd be people who would just automatically had free entry into my thing, right, my office. And then there is the people then who had to knock, right? So, and Ben Wesley would come in, and he would be completely oblivious to everything. He just comes through the door, and what's happening, boys? And I say, Ben, was that door open or closed? Closed. I said, right. What do you do with a closed door? Knock it. Grown man, go back outside. Right, what?
Yeah.
Knock the door.
Yeah.
And then I go, no.
Away.
I thought you did that really well though. Like, looking back on it now, as like I want to say an adult now and a young adult then. Don't call me mate.
Oh.
Don't call me mate. It was this is the relationship. I'm not your fucking mate, which we recreate on a different scale, but it was very professional and there was a lot of respect. And I always wondered, was that part of it, or were you?
Well, I think it's a non-conscious thing. It's like asking if someone's okay, right? It's like, what are you asking me?
Yeah. There's no real answer to that.
There's not even you don't want to know the answer. You're just asking me something that's magnolia beige, right?
Yeah.
And the mate thing was this is a formal relationship, right, that we're committing
developing,
to, right? It's a professional formal relationship, and my name's Justin. I'll either assign you a name or I'll learn your name, right? That would be my default if somebody, because they did it out of nerves mainly.
Yes.
People who trained for any period of time, they're not going to say mate. You can call your spunky friends mate if you want to, but I'm your coach. And this is my name. You don't have to call me coach. In fact, I was never called coach. If somebody would call me coach, I'd be like, call me Justin.
Yeah.
I don't really like that term. Or it didn't sit well with me in the earlier years for sure. I didn't like it at all. I didn't feel worthy to classify myself as a weightlifting coach.
Why was that?
Well, I hadn't done. In my mind, it was like you need to be able to take somebody to a senior games. That's when you're a coach.
Right. Okay.
So that was my own.
That was your own level, the standard in your head. Yeah.
That's not to say that you're not a coach if you're. I obviously was coaching, but for me to call myself a weightlifting coach meant I had to take an athlete from 0 to senior.
Yeah,
you got to earn it,
right? Yes, senior championships.
Yeah.
And I think that's a fair thing to hold as a barometer of oneself and say, yeah, I think that's a. And then when it happened. It was good. And here's... so when I felt like I knew what I was doing was the 2016 Malaysia Championships. Geordie broke the Commonwealth record, won the gold medal, and, was Commonwealth champion at 94 youth. And I thought, that's a good day, right? Kyle Pierce came up to me after, who's the American weightlifting coach, shook my hand, he said he just looks like he's come from Russia.
Yeah.
And that was the biggest Carl Pierce is a big deal.
Yeah.
It was, to me, he was one of the greatest coaches, thinkers as well. Donnie knew him. He'd coached Kendrick Ferris for 3 or 4 Olympians, whatever it was. And he took the time to come to me. We beat his athletes, and won, you know, and that was like I was like, oh, right, okay, that's if he sees it, like, that's pretty good. I was seeing it, I believed it, but you know, sometimes a little bit of external, like, well done, keep going. Never spoke to him ever again.
For those who don't know, who is Jordan to you?
Jordan Sakis, my nephew.
Yeah, so we had Geordie on the podcast, and a lot of the stories.
Who started off by calling me Justin, and I was like, what's he calling me Justin? And then he slipped into his default, my uncle. So yeah, Jordan Sakis. Yeah, he was. So at that championships, there was Michael, Geordie, Rod, as well, and Christine Marie, I think, lifted. Like, Willpower took 4 athletes to that one. So.
That's that's.
And it was the World Championships. Geordie told you the story of the Chinese in the training thing. Like, train and all that stuff. Like, that was a. So, firstly, never get your athletes injured, right? And he had his wrist injury, and that really stopped the development. That was the one thing. If I could change anything, I would change that lift at 6 a.m. 150 clean. Like that would be the one we never did.
Yeah, and
like it wasn't worth it. 6 a.m. training, 100, like, you know, just don't do that lift. It's not worth it. Your athlete is beyond the point of, and again, this is things that you learn. What was that? That was year 4 or 5 of coaching, right? So that's why I do all this, is for that never to happen to their athlete, right?
Yeah.
Because that wrist injury. Well, he talked about it, and you know, that was the one thing that then got him his early arm pull. He had to change his snatch thing. We couldn't do lifting. You know, we basically that competition, which is why it meant so much. It was because we weren't doing anything other than squat and pull, no lifting whatsoever, and we lifted. Donnie was over, which made it even better. And so Donnie was over for like 2 or 3 weeks, and Geordie just started lifting again. In that 2 or 3 weeks, when Donnie
what
was
a
back.
training partner to have when you come back from lifting.
Oh yeah, like,
that's Donnie Shankle for.
And
if you don't know, get to know.
It's like that was you know. So he just started to come back into lifting. I was guessing everything, in as much as you don't know what the state of readiness is on an injury. First thing, how's the wrist? How's the wrist? How's the wrist? How's the wrist? Right. Yeah, and he'd be like, yeah, it's okay, it's fine. I'm feeling that. And then. We had a training session in Malaysia, and it was shit. And I told him that was fucking disgraceful. You represent your fucking country. I honestly, if he didn't cover that, I can understand why. But I was like, you know, and the other coaches were like, that's a bit fucking hard. I'm like, no, he's
but Geordie thrives off that, though, doesn't he?
Like,
he needs that needle.
He disappeared, right, in a mood. I disappeared. It was like, fucking shower of shit. So then we had some food, and I said, right, I've been thinking, let's go back to the train hall. I said, I think I know exactly what we need to do. We went back down. He snatched up to, I think it was 115, right? No pain whatsoever. Done. I was like, right, okay, that's what we're doing. And from that, then he knew he was going to win then, right? So like he didn't, like, it's hard. You're injured. You represent your country, biggest competition, or one of them of your life. You know, you want to win gold medals, right? We're there to win gold medals. That was the only that was my mindset. It's like, we're gonna fucking win, and I have to work out how we're gonna win, and you have to fucking do the winning.
Yeah,
it's your gold medals, not mine.
Yeah.
And whatever it was that we did, we adjusted the grip. We did feel this, feel that, feel the other. Boom, and then we just went boom. So that, like, the way in which we communicated, you know, in terms of, like, he's my blood. I fucking love him to bits. But also, like, I spoke to him in a very direct manner.
Yeah.
I didn't give a fuck who was there or wasn't there, to be honest. It's not good enough. We fucking come in to win a gold medal. We're fucking doing it. So we have to elevate that standard. And again, the same sort of themes comes in where I hadn't written the standard down, minimum acceptable quality. You know, I hadn't done that in a theoretical sense, but I was applying it in a practical daily sense in terms of, like, no, not acceptable. If it was another athlete, I would not have spoken to them in that fashion. It's my blood.
Yeah.
Anyway, so he won gold. And, like, Commonwealth record holder at 94, it'll never
change.
Never change. Right?
Yeah.
Like, that's a good day's work.
Yeah.
You know.
But you went with the job to do, and that was what was necessary to get it done.
Yeah, and, like, he's got that gold medal now. He's got that record. He's got that memory. And it was the first time Wales were in a World Championships, a bit like now, where it was a qualification event, for the games and whatnot. So they were allowing, Malaysia had the Commonwealth Championships and the World Championships sort of merged as one. And that was we were with the Russians, the Chinese, we were everybody.
So everything.
Oh, it
everyone.
was brilliant. And Rod met his wife there.
There you go.
Yeah.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
That's amazing.
Met his wife there.
Yeah, that's cool.
There you go.
I wanted to ask, so you mentioned Donny Shankle then. I know Donny was at the gym, Glenn Pendley was at the gym.
Yep.
You've had a podcast with like Zach Tallender. Like, how did you end up becoming friends and meeting these people?
Well, Donny I just messaged, and I was listening to the weightlifting podcast weightlifting talk that he would do with John North.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'd just be like listening to it. I'd be listening to Donny's like Louisiana drawl, and he'd be like, I'd be like, fuck, I got to meet that man. And I just messaged him. I literally sent him an email and said, hello, my name is Justin. If you would ever want to visit Wales, let me know and I'll sort something out. And this is my club. This is how I cook roast beef, basically. Job done. He messaged me straight away. He said, I'm not doing anything next month or whatever it was. I think he just left Muscle River, right, in a bit of a tiswas.
Yeah.
Or MDUSA, whatever it was called.
Yeah.
And he was like the nomad. He was floating. Right?
Yeah.
He was just around and thing. So I picked him up from Heathrow where he got stopped. And he got took back into security on his first visit to us, right? Because he had a wife beater on, right? And his rucksack. That was it. That's how he travelled, right? So he travelled.
I can see why you two get along.
Right. Right. So he's got his leather jacket. He's got his wife beater on. He's got his rucksack. And the lady who was in customs security, whatever it is, the passport thing, she goes, why are you here? And he goes, I'm Donny Shankle, I'm a weightlifter, and I'm meeting somebody, like we never met before. And he's like, he didn't have a phone. Like Donny,
Oh my God.
yeah, no phones, and he just had his computer, no phone, whatever it was. And he goes, ma'am, I have a strong back, and like, and a pickup truck or something. He said to her, and he got recognised then by one of the people on the cameras, and they buzzed down to her and said, that's Donny Shankle. Let him through. So he got let through, and he said, slight delay, just I'm sorry. Just good. He said, when you look like this, they always stop me, and all the rest of it. So he just came and like it was brilliant. So we talked weightlifting, we did weightlifting, we ate beef. We just did everything that he and I like doing. We just talked for hours and whatever. And it started from there, and it's one of those, like, how do things happen? You make them happen.
Yeah.
You
ask.
You ask politely, whatever. And you just make something happen. Zach knew Tiberius, Nick Jones, who's got a little channel.
Yeah.
He asked Nick and Zach were friends or something up there with Chris Speed and whatever.
Yeah.
Way before I think Nick was coming to the gym or sort of whatever. Glenn turned up because Donny said, "Go and have Justin's roast beef." Literally was the reason why Glenn.
We'll get onto your cooking later as well.
Not the weightlifting per se. And I think we were prepping for a competition, so everybody was firing. So Glenn enjoyed that. We had a good day. We had it was Seb, wasn't it? Seb, weightlifting thing.
Weightlifting house.
Yeah, he brought him up to the gym. But Glenn was like, Donny, I'm in the UK. Where do I go? Go to Willpower, see Justin, have his roast beef. And on Glenn Pendley's blog, he said it's the best roast beef I've ever. It's like, again, it's not because of like our classification. It wasn't because of a classification as weightlifters or weightlifting coaching or whatever. But it was because we all share the same crazy passion for the same thing in a very similar way, right?
Yeah.
We meet, we do training. We've got young boys, athletes. Like, what weightlifting coach doesn't want to see 16-year-old, young men like cleaning 150, cleaning 160, jerking? What's the best sound in the gym? Geordie's front foot.
Yeah.
Right, bang. Followed closely by Donny's hips.
Yeah.
When he was
rattling off the bar. Yeah.
Taught me all about timing. It's like the sound of timing and how you're using other senses. You're using your eyes, ears. You're using the senses of time. Like, I would imagine that your timing is altered over 100%. Years. You have a different sense of your timing.
Yeah.
Right? And it's like, well, you develop that. That's lifting, I think it's 120 or 115. Geordie's doing some push presses. He's a kid, got his floppy hair, right? And you can hear the bar go, tick-a-da-boom, tick-a-da-boom, right? Every time he dips and drive, there's a certain sound to it.
Yeah.
It's what made him a great jerker, is that his timing was impeccable. On
Rhythm and timing, yeah.
Right? Absolutely. Outside of the fact that his hips stop the weight dead. So, which is where he gets that, because he doesn't sponge. He just stops like a fucking
whip,
bump.
yeah.
So then you get that spring. And yeah, there we are.
What was it like having Donnie in the gym then? Because there are videos on the old Willpower page of Donnie. Was it from block, or did he clean from block? Was it
90?
Was it 200 off block? 200 off block in the corner.
210.
210 off the corner platform.
210, and then he lifted 195 in the competition that we had that weekend, and clean 200, missed the jerk.
Wow.
So yeah, he was coming back from shoulder reconstruction. So like that was you listened to that song that he put on. Like, he just had one song in his head. That was the zone he was in. There was Geordie was there, Mongo was there, and I think Big Dave was there. Matthew Lilly, to people that don't know who Mongo was. And so you had like one of the best. So at that visit when Donnie came over, what also happened that visit was that Donnie would say, "Let's go to the gym and train. 2:30. Fuck. Give me a rest." Right? Yeah. So, all right, come on, let's go and train. So we'd be down there, and Matthew Lilly Mongo, he was a 200 plus squatter. Big Dave was a 200 plus squatter, and Donnie was a 200 plus squatter, right? So Donnie's front squatting plus 200. And all of the under 15 Pontypool schools boys were coming in. And I said, boys, come here, little talk about these men are squatting, and you need to pay attention, because there's 3 200 kilo squatters on one platform.
You don't see that.
And this is the first time it ever happened in the gym, is that we started getting used to the weight, right? We started getting used to the fact that we're developing strength, with 3 reds and a yellow or whatever the combination was. Yeah. And it's happening right here in front of it. And even though I didn't develop Donnie, but I helped Big Dave and Matthew Lilly. And, I said to these boys, I said, hey, just remember this time. And I saw Ben Sullivan, who now plays for Glenavon rugby. He popped over the other day where I was sharpening in the market. I said, "Just how are you?" Blah, blah, blah. And he said, "Do you remember that time Donnie was there?" And like,
just imprinted in his mind.
Because he's a 180, 170 squatter. He squatted, last time I saw him at the gym at 16, he squatted 160, 165. Beautiful squatter, right? So they knew the value of squatting. You were they were seeing men and Jordan, right? Because he was the same age. He was the peer.
He was a man, though.
I mean, whatever his squat was at that time, probably around 170, 180, at 15, 16. He was like a god to kids.
Yeah.
I remember watching him get his cap, right? And I'm standing, watching him play for Wales, right? And there's teenagers, like kids, look at him. Because he had just had a mythical...
Just a mutant, yeah.
Because he was physically doing things that no other kids were doing, except Josh. Josh, the fire-breathing dragon.
Yeah.
So it really inspired a group of kids to love the squat rack, right? And they bit on it down. All the kids that I coached at that time, they loved squatting for a very good reason, because they were in a gym full of squatters.
The nicest thing to hear about that story for me is Charlie and I had a conversation last week about what is considered good anymore, because you open your phone and you've got someone front squatting 300 for 3 and you think, I'll just go fuck myself then with a 200 kilo squat. It's not impressive anymore. But to have kids see it in real life, with minimal concept of what else is out there, that the standard of being over a 200 kilo squat is respectable and it is impressive, and that is enough to sort of steer these young kids on the right path of what they see in front of them.
Part of the coach's development, right, their own personal development, is actually getting used to the weight, right? Not just like as an athlete, but getting used to seeing the weight. Mm-hmm. I was numb to the weight in the end. Right, because the weight was just an expression of percentage of potential and readiness at the time. So it didn't matter what the weight was. Could be 240, could be 180. It doesn't matter what it is. I was thinking about weight relative to where the athlete is, and that's all it was. The number, I don't know what 240 feels like on my back. I don't have a back strong enough to put 240 kilos on, walk it out, squat it. Right, I can good morning like 150, but I can't. Right, so my back was conditioned to a certain degree, so I've no concept of the load, like you've got no concept of 300 for 3 on a front squat, whatever it was. But you don't have to either. You look at the qualities of how is it moving? Is there any deviation? Is it efficient? Is the skill mastery level high, or is it compromising at a certain weight? So the point at which, when I first ever met you, you had a wonky overhead position, right? And you still have it, but it just expresses itself much later, right? When I first met you, you had a tendency to jump out of the way of your cleans. You still have it, but it happens much later. So just look at your own personal things and say, right, okay, in the balance of, what's your back squat now, 200?
202.
202?
200.
200. So front squat?
185.
70.
170, right? Clean, 55?
53.
53.
Can't remember last time I cleaned.
But top clean?
40.
40, right? So you can see that like there's similarities in what you're doing. There is a specificity to his training that you're not applying to yours. Yours is more general, whatever it is.
Yeah.
But also there is he's probably cleaned 140 for 3, right? So he's got density to his numbers. Whereas perhaps I would suggest in your training, there's a little bit less density because of the variety of, the way in which you choose to train, which is your business, etc. But when you're thinking about it as a coach, right, you're thinking about readiness, potential, efficiency. Something is going to break down in a lifter and to make them less efficient. And it's easy to make it happen as a coach. You just add another kilo. That's a reckless way of doing it. But it is, you just add more weight.
You'll see it. Yeah.
You'll see it, right? So you need to know what is efficient apropos your athlete. And then where does it start to decay, the efficiency? And that's the golden spot of training, is pre-decay of efficiency, because you're at maximum, the lifter's maximum ability to express potential with mastery, and that is where you train, right? And it's not going to be at 95%, because everyone, to a degree, nobody can sustain that for starters, but also it's where efficiency starts to drop as
off
the
anyway.
percentage gets higher. So you have to. So the answers become obvious. Where we train is we train in zones of like 70, 85%, and we try and elevate either the breadth, the width of our training in terms of like the volume that we can manage, our fitness to do that volume with high efficiency.
Yeah.
Right. And if the efficiency is not there, don't indulge yourself. Come back. Right. You're in a cul-de-sac.
Yeah.
Right. That is a false thing to do. Just to get the numbers, to get the load. Don't do that.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying you do that.
No, you proved that to me with, I remember when I first joined Willpower, I had no base. I had lots of spikes. I had lots of spikes of numbers, and then injury numbers, then injury numbers, then injury. And I had no base level of anything really. It was just, it was in a case of, it was just willpower of me going under bars and hoping that I could do it. But I remember there was a particular block that you gave me that was based around 70 to 80%. And I remember thinking at the time, why am I doing this? And you used to make me back squat 70 kilos for 8 reps, and it was perfect. Then it was next week it was 80. Then it was not, it wasn't 70, 100, 120. And then I remember after that, I had a max out session. It was me, Nick, and Geordie on the center platform, and I hadn't cleaned anything above like 105.
I remember that session.
And I cleaned 143, and it was like a 13 kilo PB out of nowhere. And I remember you saying, "See, this is
applying principles.
Yeah, this is where the base is now. Like now you can express." And I wasn't then injured after it. I went straight into another block of training, and then I started to understand there's more to training than just spikes of maxes and then 6 months of injury.
Yeah, and I think making you squat slowly, probably.
Yes, it was very slowly up and down.
Doing the slow squats is part of developing the understanding of an athlete where their center point of balance is.
Yes,
right? Because what happens is anytime you shift off the balance, you're not using the muscle distribution in the correct order, and then you're putting a stressor somewhere else, usually your lower back, or somewhere you don't want the stress to be. And so the importance of knowing the line, everyone's got a line, right? And as a coach, you know the line of your athlete. You know when they're on it and you know when they're off it. And so you're watching the indicators of that line, knees maybe going backwards, feet shifting. You're watching the physical things, and then you want them on that line. Well, if you don't know the line, if you can't feel the line, I'm responsible for making you feel it.
Yes.
And I'm going to do that by making it so uncomfortable and so perfect that you're praying that you get out of this training zone, this time, and you start squatting normally. Because like the prospect of squatting slowly, rep after rep,
It's pain,
and then you'd hear no, to make it worse. Anytime you're shifting or deviating, no, you'd hear,
do it again,
no,
do it
no,
again,
exactly.
again.
Because you're safe. It's 70 kilos.
Yeah, you're not going to hurt yourself.
You're not going to hurt yourself,
No.
right? But you're going to go through so many reps, and so think of that. If we invert that as a coach, you need to see loads of reps.
Yes.
How are you going to develop your coaching eye if you're not seeing the repetitions?
Mm-hmm.
And what coaches now who perhaps were athletes of Willpower, now I see them doing a lot of coaching. One thing that they all have, which is a real advantage, is they've all trained as athletes in a very high standard training environment in terms of the quality of movement and so on and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
So they all know what good reps look like. So when you're a coach who, like I had to like make that.
You had to invent it all before it started.
Because there's barely any YouTube. There's barely like literally there was Glenn Petley put up videos, and I suppose I described things in a different style manner to him, but I was trying to get the idea of how he was, what were the things that I needed to know? What are the fundamental positions? Because the first part of your coaching journey is you've got to learn what it is, technically, that there is a bit of technique that you have to learn, and then you have to know it instinctively with your eyes, right? It's not about the program. It's all about what do you know, because you're now taking a step forward saying, I'm going to coach you, right? And you have to coach them really well. Otherwise, you're building in a inefficiency into their lifting because of your lack of knowledge. So that's the fundamental thing: is get knowledge. Knowledge you can have in principle knowledge, you can have theoretical knowledge, and you can have practical knowledge. Coaching is a practice.
Yes.
So you better do coaching, but you better do coaching not at the expense of your athletes. And that is a fundamental thing. That's why I always liked your style, because you took your time with your coaching, and you were very reluctant to take that step out there and put your fucking respect. We've been doing it now, like 12 years, whatever it is.
Yeah, 11 years.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And now you are a grounded, trustworthy coach, right? That's got like proper respect. Like you had respect from me way back. He's like, yeah, fucking Sam's got it.
Thank you.
That's why you were never called Sam, right? Because you couldn't. It's true.
Yeah.
You can't.
You earned the respect.
That's not a Sam.
No, that's
I
a
had
All respect to Sam.
a very different scale to your sort of epiphany moment of when you feel like, oh, I've become a coach now. But the young girl I've coached for 4 years went on to win it was a final game for her under-16s cup in Rodney Parade. She was captain of the team. Didn't miss a fucking tackle, played blinder of a game, and she lifted the trophy up at the end. And I had a bit of like, not a tear in my eye, but I thought,
it means something.
I am fucking proud
something,
to watch you grow up and have a very small part in your career. But I felt like the job that I needed to do for the past 4 years, with a lot hanging in the balance, I've fucking done. You've played for Wales at 15 in the under-18s.
Yes.
You've won the cup the past 3 years in a row, captain of the fucking team.
Job's done.
Happy.
So you've developed a relationship. Because there's no guarantee that...
I don't let her call me mate.
Right? There's no guarantee that a 12-year-old's going to be there at 16.
No.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, like, you don't keep them interested. They have to keep themselves interested. But the way you do it, it stimulates their excitement, right? So it is a very difficult... Because otherwise, you get a little too covety, right? They're not your athletes. They're their own athlete. You're guiding them. Then you have no right to them whatsoever. You have to be worthy of them. So that part of it makes it special, is because she stayed with you for whatever period of time, 4 years, and fulfilled her potential under your guidance. It's like, fantastic. That Ben Sullivan who I mentioned, he scored the winning try in the Millennium Stadium to win the Jewish Shield for his team with a fucking 2 meter fucking shunt, and that's his 160 squat. I'm like,
There you go.
So but as coaches, you don't know that's not the outcome for everybody. Some people just want to have a nice time and do lifting, and that's great.
That's fun.
Yeah.
But for the ones who take it seriously, we better know what we're doing, because they have one opportunity to be the best they can be. I can coach another 1,000 people, right? And fucking whatever. But they don't, right?
Yeah.
You look at your careers, I suppose Geordie now, he's, selling watches and playing rugby, enjoying himself, relationship and all the rest of it. His sort of weightlifting days are sort of done.
Yes.
You know, unless he wants to make a big comeback and all the rest of it, which is not too late because he's 20,
Yeah, it's never,
6, 7.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, but he'd been in the sport since he was 11 or 12. It's
a long career already, isn't it?
You know, and
a lot of punishment on the body.
And I think his early success, which we both probably would reflect on more general prep, more physical general prep, carrying, grip strength and all the rest of it. Now, we didn't know that back then, but because he did rugby and he was winning, right, I think that kept him motivated.
Yeah.
Because if he was losing, and he probably would have gone,
Yeah, what's the point?
Well, exactly. Weightlifting, not an easy thing.
Sorry, before we went on, I have to ask what the book is that you've brought with you, and if we can dive into that.
Oh, well, this is... so the book is something that I wrote in Australia about programming. And it was just about, based on what I know, what's reasonable, right? So you have to program based on your own understanding of the athlete.
Yep.
I know you two athletes. I could write you a program today. You just give me your numbers. Give me what's happening. I'm going to do this competition, or I want to do so-and-so. I want to do a weightlifting comp in X. And I can, based on what's reasonable, create a first structure of a program for me to observe.
Yes.
Right? So I can then start to say, right, okay, yeah, he's pretty good for that. This is the... So I need to reason with myself before I start handing out the math.
Yes.
Right? So, I mean, what is programming? It's a mathematical solution to a physical endeavor. So you want to do something physical, and I'm going to create some maths on a program and then hand it to you, and my understanding of you, the athlete, the mathematics, and all the things that I'm selecting for you, they better be in high regard.
Yeah.
Right? Otherwise, I'm mismatching, or I'm doing something which is not going to work in your favor. So this was my... these are my notes, really, of like how we are going to think reasonably. What are the principal things that we need to understand? Here, take some pictures of it after you can show the viewer, whatever. These are the laws, right? These are the things that I anchor my programming on. This is what we just spoke about, mastery and potential, and making sure that you understand efficiency. This is the fitness fatigue paradigm. In other words, you're always going to be outdone by fatigue.
Yes.
At some point, you won't be able to recover if it's a worthwhile training program.
Yeah.
Put it that way. Right? You're always going to... If you start a cycle, fresh as a daisy, at some point, you know...
You're going to be banged
fatigue
up.
is just going to fucking grab you, and you're going to be like... Now, that's the bit... That's where you become a more experienced guy, is knowing what to do and managing the fatigue. It takes a lot of years for the athlete to understand their fatigue levels, and it takes a lot of years for a coach to understand, what do we do? Do I intervene? How do I adjust it? How do you compensate? You know, you look at the way in which your body compensates. So, for example, what we learned off that training cycle that you did is actually you can hit 70, 75% for at that point in your career and get worthwhile results off that. So what's the point in training you heavier than that, where you're all crumbling? It's like, no, you have to learn the reason why I'm subjecting the athlete to 4 3s, 5 5s, whatever percentage it is. What is, without going to the methods and the means, as in what variant am I going to use? Am I going to snatch from blocks, power? What's the variety of exercises I've chosen? Where am I starting? What's our goal? And then what do I? And so, is it reasonable that I'm asking you to squat 4 3s at what I'm an absolute intensity person. I like writing kilos down. I don't do percentages because percentages, you're not ready for the percentage most days, right? Or you are ready for the percentage and I have to put it up. Yeah. Or I hold it. Do you get me? And I say, yeah, that's okay. I know you're looking good for a couple more kilos. We'll just hold it today. Let's get through the next week and see how you feel after that. Because, fatigue is an accumulation, which is what we want to drive up preparedness. But also, you have to manage. If I've bollocked you in the first week and you can't make week 2, I have then completely done you an injustice.
Yeah.
I need to get you into 20, 21 days of training and then start to see something. I'm either going to start to see decay and then I can pull back, or I'm going to start to see an elevation of fitness. And I've learned then that, okay, do I leave it alone? So I leave it alone. I do another cycle based on a very similar model of distribution. And then I start to feed you that and go, right, what's going to happen this time? You know, maybe doing snatch above knee is favourable to you because your back's weak, and lifting off the floor at the same percentage is way more fatiguing.
Yeah.
Right? That would be a reasonable thing to assume.
Yeah.
So that's what you do. You sit there and you reason with yourself thousands of fucking times a minute, and you just sit there, you know, and then you literally make it up well, right? Because each program you do is a creation, and I create one for you or whoever it is. I create them based on
personal.
What I know about you. I remember that program I called Building a Base. That was what I called the program, because he needs to know he doesn't have a fucking base, and we're going to build a base. The reason he's coming into the gym is to build that base. Yeah, when you give him a treat, and I'm a firm believer that you have to reward your athlete with something, an advantage that they have. Give them a reward, which was that, like, go on, take the things for a fucking gallop.
Yeah.
You know, let the horse fucking gallop a little bit. He's completely in. 143, lifetime best, 13 kilos up on his previous, not injured. And he's like, okay, I'm in. That is when you get full commitment from an athlete who's motivated like that. Other athletes, you have to be very different. You know, you're slowly building,
delicate with
slowly,
it.
right? Because too much of one thing, and they suddenly it's all messy, and it just fries with their head. So that's what this is my, I suppose, organization of my own way based on what I know, right? That's just based on what I know. Is that these two things, mastery and fatigue, you know, the way you, because like fatigue is a law, it's going to happen. You know it's going to happen unless we're just walking. And even then we're going to have to stop to eat and whatever it is. Like, fatigue happens. Yeah. And in weightlifting, it happens very specifically in certain places. So you know where it's going to happen. And that must in turn make you understand how to manage it better. Yeah. Because I know the athlete and I know these things about the athlete. And so I can then organize the trade. It's called the organization of training in any of the books that you read, whatever you study. Again, this is pretty simple. That sounds simple. Yeah. Like, oh yeah, people do get tired and we should be more skilled. Great. Yeah. So how do we do that?
I think that's something though, it's easy to see, I say easier to see as a coach than it is when you're an athlete in terms of that fatigue level. You are, where you program or where I program, whatever, you almost predict when it's going to happen and you can kind of see the curve. But when you're an athlete, I remember saying to a lot of all of my athletes at some point where it's like, it doesn't have to happen today. But as an athlete, when you're on fire and you feel like this is the day, this is when it should happen, it's going. And I remember having a block of training with you before the Willpower competition, and for about 5 weeks I was just on everything, hitting absolutely everything, and every time I'd turn to you and say, and you just shake your head, no, and I would just leave the gym fuming with myself that I was like, that could have been it. And you just, obviously you were like, keep him healthy, keep him going, and then come competition day it was brilliant. But it's very easy to see that when you're outside of that bubble, and when you're an athlete,
you don't want your best lifts in
training.
You want them on the platform. Yeah, right. She wants her performance on the rugby field. Right. You're organizing her training to give her the physical capability, capacity, whatever it is, to believe in herself enough to then express herself by making all the tackles and doing all the, scoring the winning try, whatever it is. Right. You're preparing them for that. And so here's a weightlifter, and he's lifting on the platform he's going to be competing on, or whatever it is. There's no variable to weightlifting, right? It's closed. We know what's going to happen. We know when we're lifting. We know we know everything about weightlifting, right? So it's so narrow. Whereas you don't know if the kick's going to go high, if the sun's going to be in their eye,
the wind's going to be blowing. Yeah.
But all you can do then is say, right, given any condition, have I prepared my athlete well?
As best you can.
As best you can.
Yeah.
And I think that would transfer to any form. These are principles. There's laws and principles, and they're the same for open and closed sports. So it doesn't matter. This is just my speciality being weightlifting. And I fundamentally bring it all into the weightlifting funnel, if you like, and you could just take all the weightlifting language out and then just apply it anywhere, really.
Yeah, I think. There's one book I've read 4 or 5 times called The Scientific Principles of Strength Training. I think Mike Israel had something to do with it, And it is just like you said, it is the principles and the laws and whatever you're training for, as long as you apply them correctly in order of how they're done, it makes sense in any capacity.
Zatorsky.
Sorry?
Zatorsky. That's who wrote the book. Scientific Principles of Training. Yeah.
It must be like a rewrite of it, but if they've based off that
one.
What
I've got is, I forget his first name, is Zatorsky is his surname. He might have written it with somebody,
This was it was Chad Wesley Smith. There was another doctor, and it was Mike Israel. But it was I imagine.
That one. Right, I've got you. So I'm talking about a different book.
Okay, yeah. I imagine it's much of the same though. These are the
100%.
principles. This is how you apply them. This is the order they are most important. As long as you do that, you've done a fucking good job of it.
So I read that, right, and it was a little too sciencey for me, right. So because I read it before I wrote the Willpower seminar, the coaching seminar, and I'm like, okay. So I've come back off there, not back off there, but I've come to the stage before that to say, well, yes, but like those two laws there, right, of efficiency and so the ability for an athlete to express their full potential is based on their understanding of and skill of their execution and mastery. So that is like that one, like good. That's what we're training for. Then the other one is the fatigue, right? Is actually it's happening all the time anyway, right? People are in a state of compensation all the time, whether they're gaining and dropping. There's the small compensations that you have in the week, daily intra training. Then you have the cycle. Then you have the large one, the big macro one. I said, well, just cut it all down simple, right? Cut it into small pieces, nice and simple, because when you get into the multi-layered stuff, it can become overwhelming in complexity, right? There's too much of it. So come back again and come back to something really simple. And the gauge is, how is the efficient? I always gauge it on efficiency. Is this lift is the most efficient that the athlete can do? And if it is, then I know transfer is happening. Because that's the other thing is we're training for transfer. And unless we're doing snatch, clean and jerk, which are the lifts, 1-to-1 ratio, everything else is not 1-to-1 ratio. So if I'm going to prescribe you block work or above knee work or squatting or pulling, it's a transfer that is not 1-to-1. So I have to factor that into my considerations of exercise selection, and then I would pick someone's favorite stuff pre-comp, so they're fucking on
confidence.
Fire.
They're on fire. Yeah,
they're on fire, and there's psychological transfer as well as physical transfer.
Yeah, of course.
Your psychological belief was amplified as a result of the physical increase. Yeah. So now suddenly I don't have to motivate you.
No, you're already on fire.
Right? And when I'm pulling the reins back, and you're like, well, I trust my coach.
Yeah,
right?
I've got to do it.
And that's what you want, isn't it, in the relationship? Again, you've got to demonstrate that you can do it, like you've done for that young lady. You've demonstrated it. So other people now are going to see this athlete performing at a level which is higher than other people, and they're going to go, well, who coaches her? Why don't we go and see Sam? Good job he's not called Sam. Let's go see Sam. Because he's demonstrating he knows what he's doing. And it's a bit like that in weightlifting. You have to say, well, I can point to my athletes. They all are. This is what they've done. These are the successes they've had. This is how long I've coached them.
Did that happen along the years where you have a very successful competition, then you have an influx of people looking to join?
I think it's maybe when when you joined was about the time it started to gallop a little bit, and because up to that point I held it steady at 50. Some would leave, some would stay. There's a main core. There were different generations of the Willpower squad, if you like, and you can look at the different photographs that we have. And you would see the people who came and went through either because they stopped lifting or they got a career doing something else or they just moved away on or whatever it was. So you have your core and then you have the next wave of people. And it sort of balanced itself out at around 50. And then it got busy, right? So 2018, 19, it started I wrote a seminar, a coaching seminar, because I thought, well, what's more important is the development of coaches. They're always going to be athletes, but there won't be a massive push. It takes a long time to develop a good quality coach. So that's the bit that's going to be harder than developing athletes, is having a bigger pool of coaches. And, you two are testament to A, you've chosen to be coaches. B, you've come through a very similar sort of thing. You're very similar in terms of like numbers and bits and bobs, and you've got similar temperaments. So yeah, there they are. A couple of coaches. There's like, if you look at all the people now who are coaching who used to train at Willpower or whatever, like it's a lot. It's quite a lot of them.
Yeah, it's an easy.
But that's the job of your coach, is to develop you as a coach, if that's your choice.
Yeah.
Like Geordie went into coaching. We never really discussed his coaching thing. He just went and did it. And I was like, great, off you go do that. But also, we'd been together for 12, 13 years, and he'd seen it from day dot. He was more or less the first person in there and turned the lights off on the way out, virtually. So it's like, well, that's a long time, isn't it? 12, 13 years is a fair chunk of time to be in a sport and to understand, what if you should know what to do. Doesn't mean it suits you, because you have to swap your selfish nature for a generous one. It's the inverse. The coach is never selfish. They're always generous. That's why everyone gets fucking food around my house or whatever. And so on, right? That's why people ring you up and say, I got nowhere to live. Can I come and stay with you for a couple of weeks? Yep, sofa's there, all the bed's there. Spencer, you're out of your bed. This person. You just do that. Yeah. Right? That's a byproduct. And Donnie was like that with Glenn. Donnie lived with Glenn. Glenn fed Donnie. It's just, you're a certain kind of person if you're that kind of coach.
Yeah.
And I was sort of that kind of coach where people like the food, they like the atmosphere or whatever it was, and then
because you go from being an athlete, and not that I was ever an elite athlete, but it's a very selfish lifestyle, and to go from that into coaching, which is you're giving up your time for everyone else. You barely get to train. You're in a gym 15 hours a day, and you're struggling to find time to train. It is a massive shift. What sort of things do people not understand about like the day-to-day of coaching?
It depends on like mine. I speak for myself. You're alone a lot, right? So it's cold. You're going to be fucking cold, and you're going to get fucking lonely, right? So the most exciting time for me was that little buzz, like when I see people coming in, 4:30-ish, 4:45, and in it comes. And you don't know what's happening, but something's going to happen tonight. And it's just
you can feel it in the air.
You can feel it. Yeah. And you're tired. I've already done nearly... I started opening the gym at 5 o'clock in the morning because Rhiannon was going through college and she couldn't, nursing college, she couldn't train at any other time. And she said, will you open an hour early for me? So I said, yeah, of course I will. So I then get up at 4 o'clock to be at 5 o'clock. And 4 in the afternoon, I've already done 12 hours.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm cold, I'm tired, I'm probably fucking grumpy, right? And the lift that you get from seeing all the athletes come in and it's like fucking game on. And the thing that I tell coaches is that you can never let them know how tired you are.
No,
and I can.
It's their hour of the day, isn't it?
This is their moment,
yeah.
And yet they don't need to fucking know that you've done 12 hours already and Barbara, woe is me. No way. And that was something I was very good at. I was like, I had to fucking pick me up and I was like, right, let's go. There was a certain bit where, they'd probably just look like that, see if my feet were on the sofa,
having a chemical,
and then they just sort of make their way over like that.
I was going to say, I remember going in when I first started work as a postman and I finished midday-ish. I remember going in at about 1 or 2 and I think I only went in to squat and you were asleep the entire time of me going in, squatting and leaving. I thought, don't disturb him. He's been in all day.
I couldn't leave. And I didn't leave for a very good reason. It's that I would go home, eat, and probably fall asleep and not come in because I was that tired. So, the accumulation of fatigue on you as a coach, not just, I wouldn't program if my handwriting wasn't perfect. I would stop myself. I would say, my brain's not working today. I would not program. I'd message the athlete and say, you've got a free night. I'm not writing your program. I'll send it through in the morning. Just, repeat something from last week or whatever. And that would be it. Because you need to be as clear as a fucking bell when you're assigning, because of all the things that I'm writing down now. That's the way you're thinking. It's just like a roller coaster all the time. It's all weightlifting. It's just constantly thinking, weightlifting. Pop, 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 pop. So writing a program is pretty straightforward. If I know you well and I know what you need and I know your preparedness, it's easy to write a program.
Yeah.
It's not a complicated thing at all, or it shouldn't be, which is why I would do it by hand. And I would be, and you received enough programs on the ledger,
in the journals,
written in thing, and I'd write it all out because I know what to write. I know what it is. Whereas earlier on, you don't know, and you're going, oh, like, do I look at Prelapin's chart for this, or do I? It's like, no.
You're second guessing yourself constantly.
Maybe you are, but you're just working it all out. And so what this does is it stops you from thinking like that. It's like, what do you know about them? Look at their efficiency and gauge your program on their efficiency. If their efficiency stays the same, then get them fitter or whatever it is. If their efficiency lowers at any point, come back off that. Right? And you have to know what is efficient for snatch, clean, jerk, squat, all the variants, block snatch. You have to know exactly what is efficient in a way that transfers into the long-term goal of the athlete, which is to be a champion, I'm going to presume, or whatever. And you have to understand how the effect of what you're just about to commit them to, what it has, right? And you want it to have a steady, nice impact on their organism, over many years. So it can't be reckless. Like, for example, if I prescribed you 26 doubles at 85%, you'd think I'd gone stark raving mad.
Probably still do it though.
Who the fuck?
I'd still do it.
Exactly. Yeah. So an athlete who's like, fucking 26 doubles 85%, fucking we're on that. So it's a ridiculous thing to write.
Yeah.
As is one double at 85%. Like, unless there's a very good reason.
Yeah.
Right. So where all the volume is the biggest variant of all the things that you're going to consider. Volume fluctuates the largest between you two. As in, what volume works well for you, what volume works well for you. It's the biggest, plus or minus 40% volume, right? So when you're thinking about giving everyone the same volume, do you remember the experiment I did?
Yes, I was literally about to say.
And I did a training program, right? I called it A. And I prescribed the... and I should have brought this.
Was it red, green, orange? What was the intensity levels?
It was... that was... If you had a red program, it was like low volume. And it was just like, okay, the first 4 weeks or 3 weeks, I'm going to prescribe everybody the same volume, etc. Everybody had the same thing, and then I'm going to see who this works for, who it doesn't work for, etc. All the girls went, this is like
so easy, all the girls and all the boys.
And Geordie was dying. Geordie, fuck yeah. Right? And then like you had a machine like Theo, it was like, I could do a bit more, right? Because Theo was a machine. And so we've got, like, that was my experiment to see how, how people respond to systematic training. Well, they don't, unless you vary what? Volume. Okay. So volume is, like, I knew it before, but I'd never played with it. And I thought, wow, what was it? 2019, 2020.
Those squats you did on that program killed all of the boys off, but the girls were squatting like 12 to 15 reps on 80%. The boys were doing about 4.
Right? So
Theo's such an outlier in that regard, though, because he's huge as well. It's not like
he's bigger now, but bear in mind he was a 105 back then.
It's still a big guy.
Just a volume.
Yeah, big,
volume
but he could just do
the
do the volume. Yeah. He had no issue with doing the volume. And then I did low, medium, high volume. I changed it. And then I started to refine the thing. And then after about 3 or 4 months, I went, fuck it, I'm going back to the ledgers. And everyone went, thank fuck for that. So I went back to individualizedly writing the program. So my system days were, because we, in this country, whatever, you're gonna meet an athlete, then you're going to assess an athlete, and you're going to write a program for that athlete. You're not doing, systematized, here's 1,000 athletes, and we're going to kill them until we just get 10 left or whatever it was, and they're going to be our Olympic champions. We don't have that indulgent, and you shouldn't be that indulgent, because you could have developed the other ones perhaps differently and but that's systematized, training, if you like, whereas mine was always individual. I wrote my first was I just write your program. I thought that's what everybody did. I didn't think there was just like...
Is that how it works? If you were a Bulgarian coach, it is whoever survives. This is how we train. That is it.
At one stage it was, wasn't it? Yeah.
From again, I don't know because I wasn't there, but Donnie went through a Bagiev's training, and it was just like brutal.
Wasn't he in bed and he was like feeding him rice or something? I remember a story about that. He was just absolutely fucked, and he was getting him calories.
Like Donnie again would thrive on that, right? And I think when I spoke with Glenn was in my office on the sofa talking away, and he was like, you know, Donnie's greatest strength was also the thing that like limited his career length, in as much as Donnie would keep on going. And Glenn would say, I think that's enough now. Donnie wouldn't listen. He's just like, fucking gonna do it. So again, it's a balance, isn't it? Because that one lift, I don't think they're worth it. Glenn didn't think they're worth it. Donnie thought it was worth it, and then we've got a shoulder pop.
Yeah.
Right? Or we've got a PB.
Yeah, your fine lines.
He could go and push himself that far. It's a balance, and it's a thing that you know, I suppose you develop in the relationship, and you just say enough. You know, some people don't require any motivation to stop. Other people require a lot. John Sell never listened, would he?
No.
And then he'd give me the fucking finger because he really wanted to prove me wrong, right? And that's great, but also he was one of the most injured fucking athletes, right? Yeah. So you're going to find that those athletes that have a lot of injuries also are the ones that need the fucking stimulus of whatever it is, of going ahead, proving somebody wrong or whatever.
Yeah.
All right.
I think it was fitting in though as well, wasn't it? I think from the athlete's point of view, with the willpower mentality and the core of, especially the male lifters in there, I remember having the feeling of, I need to show that I deserve to be in here right now with these people. And it was wrong because I associated numbers with deserving to lift there. Whereas as time went on, it was just more...
It was just time.
Yeah, grind through it. Keep going. Just keep going. Yeah, just keep going.
Evan. Do you remember Evan?
Yeah, Evan Ash. Yeah.
Like, we fucking loved Evan.
Yeah.
He shut his fucking mouth. He did the training.
Yeah.
Right? That's it. That literally is all you needed to do, was shut the fuck up, do the training. That's it.
Yeah.
Come in, get yourself warm, bang. Because he wouldn't, like, Evan was really quiet. And he'd come in early-ish, wouldn't he? And he'd sort of like be almost through his training by the time everyone was in. And maybe that was his job or whatever it was. But, you know, again, like, but everybody who was coming in, once they see somebody training, like, there's the respect of people who train. You just get that respect off the training pack, you know, and then it's like, yeah. And then then you get the handshake on the way out. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it means a lot. It's like training.
I think that's what people tend to not understand with the willpower side of things like that. All you had to do was keep showing up, and then once you were accepted, it was you were the level of acceptance that you had in that. It wasn't like a weightlifting team. It was just a family. It was just, you could go there when you weren't training, like we're training. You could go there after hours. You could go there before. If you were stressed, if you were happy, you just turn up at the gym and it
Saul
would just
turns up at my Woodlands now.
Yeah, well there
Saul
you go.
would just come to my Woodlands, just let himself in.
Yeah.
Just Saul would come in, just sit there, watch training.
Yeah.
Right? Fall asleep. Right, that's me done.
Where did the so that idea, because I remember going through that stage and coming in at, like you did, middle of the day, and then it was almost the invitation to come down and train in the evenings, and that was quite a big thing.
Yep.
Then it was the invitation of sharing a bar with someone like a Nick or a Geordie or a Mikey or someone, and then it was the, like you said, the handshake. Where did you plan that to happen, or was that just a natural? It just naturally.
Yeah, just like, so, you know, again, like I say, you go a bit stir crazy, sat on your own for like whatever, because it's not what, you know, if you're gonna come in at 1, I'm just watching one person train, and how many times would you see just wrapped in a blanket, like fucking remember that silver thing that Frankie gave me from the Olympics? It was like silver foil to keep me warm. I used to wear it like a skirt. I'd have a hat on. I'd put my scarf around my head like a thing, and I'd just be like, because my whole goal was to stay warm. Right? Because it's uncomfortable in that basement, you know, damp and whatever. But no, the things like the vouching, and then the sort of, I suppose it's the psychological aspect of, because males require the hierarchy in order to have meaning, right? So once you climb the hierarchy with a small h, you know, in other words, you've demonstrated yourself to the training group that you're worthy of being there. We don't care if it's just the bar you're lifting. It's not, the weight is not important. Is, will you turn up tomorrow? Because you've been allowed to come and train, and what are you going to bring? What are you going to add, right? Because, do you remember Garen's 100 kilo snatch?
One of our highlights of willpower.
So look at that. Garen's a very unique individual, right? you wouldn't say he was part of the, inner sanctum or whatever it was. He was quite quiet, distant, shy, if you like. But that fucking moment, and everybody erupted. And I don't think he'd ever felt anything quite as powerful in terms of, it meant everything to everybody. Because we'd watched him build and build, and that's what we loved over the years, is we're going to watch you struggle over it. Will you be there for years struggling? Because it's years long, this thing, and I think it just, when you look at snippets, look at your 200 kilo squats, fucking years. It took years, right? Missed it probably however many times, so all the things need to come together for you to be in the right physical condition to have that maximum, right? To make that lift, and you've just made it once or whatever, but it's been a decade or so in training to get the one moment. Well, you might do that on your own and go, well done, me. When you're doing it with 50 or 29 lifters who've all been part of that fucking time, watched you struggle, and then they fucking, there's few things finer than that. In my experience of being a weightlifting coach, when it means something to him or her over there, and you've done something, and they're just so fucking happy, and that happened every fucking week.
Every week.
But
it wasn't just on a big Friday. No. It was a Tuesday. It was a Wednesday. It was a Monday. When nothing was meant to happen, something would happen.
I'd look at Tom Jolly. He'd look at me and go,
"Yeah, something's happening.
What's happening? Where's this come from?" And it could just be Geordie was pretty good on the fucking beats, right? And it would just be somebody put something on, and I'd be like, fuck, this is the song that is needed right now at this time. And that person's doing the lifting for this song. And it was just like...
everything was perfect.
But...
It was made for it.
It not... it wasn't like, put eye on the tiger. It was just like, it was just... it could be an obscure song that would come on,
but it
lifted everything.
Well, like Geordie's song, isn't it? All My Tears, Amber, and when that come on, it was just just goosebumps.
All of it, so because you're going to be with each other for long periods of time, and you better all get on pretty well, and I quite, who do I talk to? And I don't really, because I was the centre of it all, right? I didn't know if anybody liked each other. I liked you all. Right, I loved you all, so it didn't matter to me. I didn't even consider if this person doesn't like that person. I was oblivious to all of that. If there was interpersonal sort of disputes,
but it's a different relationship for you compared to everyone else. Isn't it?
You're in the centre, holding everything together. Everyone, I say everybody either respects you or likes you, and so I'm the common denominator when it comes to the glue of everything. And then because certain people can get a little bit irate if it's not going their way and whatever, and you just calm that situation down, It's true, isn't it? There were never any fisticuffs, but there was certain words said or whatever it was, and it's just like, okay, do I intervene here? Shall I come out? And sometimes it was just enough for me to come out of my office, tap the cane on the floor a couple of times. Very rarely. Were you ever there when I had to turn the music off?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, it's
again, it's just psychology. That's all. It just turned the music off.
Everything got too much. It was too much tension.
No. Something. What would be a reason I turned it off?
Oh God!
When Ryan turned up, that was the time when I turned the music off.
Yeah. So there's a couple of times that it was just enough.
It was something had happened, and it was just like click. The music goes off. I stand there. I just look at everybody, and they're like, what's happening?
Yeah.
Because it takes them a little while. Then they know I'm sort of waiting patiently, hand on cane or whatever it was. And then I'd say probably something ridiculous. I would pick a person and say, do you know what the meaning of this is? And
diffuse the situation.
Because the person I'm aiming it at is over there. Yeah. I'm going to do that one over there. They're not in trouble or anything.
Yeah.
But I'm going to say, do you know what this means?
Who is it that you used to address? You didn't used to address them. You used to address the person.
Signer 4. So Signer 4 was a kid who would come up with the early morning training group. There'd be Jordan, Rod, Theo, Tom Wayne, Michael, probably a little bit after that. And he was a small kid, right? Lovely kid, 70 odd kilos. He'd come up and train. He was 14, 15 in school, and for whatever, again, this is because you go a bit crazy. For whatever reason, I called him Signer 4, right? And the sign of 4 is a Sherlock Holmes character is one of the characters in a Sherlock Holmes film, right? And it's quite a grotesque little character. Anyway, so I called him sign, and then I wrote his sign on the top. It was there for years until Drew painted over everything without asking me. Right? I put the sign of 4 on the thing because he would be a head shaker, right? He'd shake his head and he would be out of balance every time. And I'd say sign of 4, or I'd say, Rod, tell sign of 4 to look at the sign of 4 up there and never take his eyes off it. So Rod would have to get up, walk over and say, Justin, like you. And it would just be stupid things like that, you know, where I give somebody a name, which is completely ridiculous, and then I talk via someone else, you know. And,
just brilliant.
Oh my God.
Just brilliant.
But funny. And, you know, again, it's a little bit like when you're with everybody so many times, so for so many hours, like it's going to get a little bit crazy. It's going to go a little crazy because what else are you going to do? Like just sit there and talk to each other? Of course you're not.
Yeah.
Do you miss it?
So when I stopped restauranting and people said, "Do you miss it?" I don't miss the hours. I miss the ingredients and I miss the customers.
The moment.
And in Willpower, it's like I miss like I said, that fucking 4 o'clock feeling when here we go. I miss like the tightness. So when it all sort of finished, like I was on my I was on my own. It's like everyone was gone.
Yeah.
Right? It's done. So it's like that was quite a drop in like daily routine. You know, seeing the same people that you love day in, day out, and then suddenly you're not seeing them. Or if you do see them, it's not in the same way.
Yeah.
They got quite sad for a bit. It's like, we don't need all that. And then, and so it's, I would say to Kit, I said, I've got no voice. You know, I haven't got, because I was been a coach for all this.
What's next?
What is it? Sharpening, Charlie.
Yeah,
so,
there you go.
You know, so that got a little bit, so everything ends, right? And I was very fortunate, I suppose, to watch the empire crumble before my eyes. And it's like, this is what happens. So that was a real sort of like retrospectively a blessing.
Yeah.
You know, it's a real sort of gift to build something. So like Willpower couldn't really just fizzle out. It had to explode.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
You can't burn that brightly, you know, without something like popping.
Yeah.
And so you can't choose the end of anything. It just ends.
Yeah.
And as I said it, you know, to Meg now, who's running her club from the same space, I would say to her, like, it's all going to end one day, Meg. You know, it will. And she's going, don't ever say that. I said, yeah, because you can't. You're young. I've been through the end of things many times.
Yeah.
As youngsters, it's been the only place they've ever trained. Like they don't think it's ever going to end. Well, of course it's going to end.
It's always been there as they've known it, so they just presume it's always going to be there.
Gonna be there. And of course it was getting better every year,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
There was the red brick. We were doing the podcasting. There was the comps.
yeah.
It was just getting wilder. It's going like dum 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 dum. So you can't sustain that. That like any
The crescendo
high,
of it was...
you can't sustain that, right? So there's lots to miss, but there's lots to not miss. Do you know what I mean?
I even remember being there. We were in the office. I think Geordie was away lifting somewhere, and you said, "Well, when Geordie's done lifting and when we pack all this in," and I just thought, "What do you mean? But this is just what you do.
Yeah,
You're just going to be a coach forever."
It was no fun without Geordie. Like we were like a double act.
Yeah.
You know? And when he didn't come back, or when it couldn't come back, whatever, it was just like, my fucking heart's gone.
Yeah.
You know, I love everybody. Don't get me wrong, but he's like, we've got this length of time that we're together, like and every fucking day. You know, we've shared every part of that fucking
journey together.
You know, through the highs and the lows and all the rest of it. So, like, what's the point if he's not there?
Yeah, it wouldn't be the same.
Not the same. But again, you know, like it was 4 years ago or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Like time passes. You
And
know,
at least you had that moment,
our
those
last
moments
moment
as well.
that we've sort of like our last pure Willpower moment was we're having a fag outside. The music's going on. We just had the competition. The band's playing, and we're smoking a rollie outside the thing. And I just looked at him. I said, "There you go. It does not get any better than this right now. This is fucking perfect." And then, like a month later, it blew up.
Yeah.
Done. That's it. The universe pulled the plug and said, "Right, okay, that's it."
You had what you wanted. That was it.
That was it.
Done.
And that was almost 10 years to the day that I got the space. April 2012 to April 22. And like, here's a little bit of sort of like woo, is that when I opened it, I said, you need to be in one place for 10 years doing the same thing. And then the universe just went, right, you've done that.
Done that, on to the next.
On to the next.
Yeah.
So it's,
Can you? So you mentioned a lot there, like the feeling of the 4 o'clock kind of coming in. Can you tell me about a session that it was deemed the Big Friday, and it was there was the first time.
You better have a lot of reminders in there.
there was the first time that we had the Willpower singlets, and you were giving them out, and there was 4 deep to a platform. There was a YouTube video about it. It was, I think Bruno was there, Geordie, Mikey, and I wanted to, if you could relive that moment of, I can't imagine being the coach to all of those athletes sitting back, and every platform is 4 deep to every single one, and every single platform had potential winners, Commonwealth, whatever, international lifters. Then you had lifters like myself who were young and trying to prove themselves. And I was reliving that moment. I watched a couple of the videos and I thought, if I was a coach and I just sat there and just, it's almost like that would have been for me the crowning moment.
No. And I don't remember it as vividly as you. No, because like I'm not thinking of that. I'm thinking of the next competition, the program. I'm thinking of things differently. So I get it. Like, you know, we would do the caps or the singlets and everything, but it was just like any other night to a degree. It was just more training, and so I should send me the link. I'll watch it or whatever, because that's interesting. That's like I have like black holes. So how many times would I say to you, once I've written the program, I can't remember what's on it. Right, so I'm in full concentration for a very short period of time, and I know I can remember every fucking lift you've done. Right? So if you said to me, "Do you remember that lift?" I'd be like, "Yeah, I remember that lift." But if like handing over the thingies, it was probably very important at that moment, but not in the memorable sense, like the Garin snatch or Jordan's front foot or Michael Farmer getting a British record as a senior, right? Or, you know, Meakin out cleaning Mike Johnson.
Nick Meakin.
Do you remember that?
I remember Nick. I don't remember this.
Well, Mike Johnson, one of the best CrossFit fitters.
Oh, sure, I do remember him. Yeah,
right. Like an Adonis of an athlete, older man, yes, but fucking ripped to fuck.
Yeah, he's in good nick.
Meakin, the gym bullweevil, right? An amoeba, and this I put them deliberately on there because Mike wanted to get 100 kilo clean, and I put Meakin on there. Nick, I know you're going to see it, and I love you to bits, and I know it because I used to call Meakin Dennis Roussos, right? Because Meakin came in weighty, you know, he came in like weighty, and then he developed. So he could do a willpower. Like one of the most proud things I've ever done, outside of that, the fact he beat Mike Johnson, is get Meakin, this amoeba, into doing a willpower complex with a 24 kilo. Yeah, right. Big. And Big Dave was there. And the two of us were there, and fucking, he got through it, and I'm like, fuck, that is, because he vomited after 20 ball slams the first time he ever came into the gym. So he was not a fit person. No. And suddenly, he's on a platform with, like, somebody who's ripped as can be, Mike Johnson, right? And he could outpace anybody on a rowing machine, on anything like that, but cleans, he had bad shoulders. And like if we're going to get to any coaching at all, right? Like how the structure is affected by your mechanics is important. And he had very poor mechanics in his shoulders, and it affected his structure, which in turn then limited his capacity. So I thought maybe. So let's see. So I put him on there, and every lift that Nick was making, I said, "Are you embarrassed? Like, it's fucking Meakin. I'm embarrassed for you." He would get riled up. Meakin PB clean 103 that night. Right, it was amazing, and it was just like me sat in a blanket, chatting shit to Mike Johnson. Meakin don't know what the fuck's going on. He's just lifting because he would be my training partner back in those days. So it's rare for him to come in the evening and lift anyway, and it was brilliant. So again, like those are my moments, right? Is to think about how they developed and what they lifted, and you know all those things, and the times where they would get through something difficult, get through the challenges, and it happened with injuries, it happened with training. Like, you know yourselves, like when a lifter comes back in from training, maybe they haven't lifted and they get that 70 kilo snatch again, or they get that 100 kilo snatch, or whatever it is, and you're like, fucking, we're back on track. You know, and it's just they've been with you all these years. So no, send me the link though. I'll have a little look.
You did that a lot back then, where you would pair people up. Was that it felt deliberate? Was it deliberate in terms of the athletes you would pick and choose together?
Sometimes, right. Other times, like as the it's sort of got organised a bit more by the WhatsApp group, which I wasn't ever part of like the training. You know, it would be whoever run the WhatsApp group, and it would be like who's into like training, and then it's sort of self-filtered. And sometimes Geordie would be like, Wasley, I need you tonight. Like, he needs that fucking craziness.
Yeah.
Whereas other times, Wasley has to be like way out of the way.
Go with the red brick.
Come on, come on, Jane.
Yeah, oh, God.
Right. So Janine's going for a PB jerk, and Wasley goes, it's dead silent. Go on, Jane. Right. It's not even her name. But exactly.
Hilarious.
So she just laughs and just put the bar down.
Drops
Like,
it.
but that is, you know, you have to accommodate for him because he's loyal. And he's there, and he's training hard, and we love him to bits.
Yeah.
But like, it's gonna be that sort of stuff. That's just funny. You know, there's things there that are just like funny, and people would do or say things, and it would just like because we were all, you know, tired, you know, hurting and pain. The funny moments just became hilarious.
Just lifted you.
They just really went. They just went into a place where it was very, very, you know, loads of those.
Well, I remember there was certain times where it would be sort of kilo for kilo battles with people, and you would put me up against Nick or something similar, and it was I used to enjoy it where, let's say, someone new would come to the gym, and you would just have a quiet word with someone and say, push him today, let's see what he's made of, let's see what he's got. And you would just go totally off what your program was going to do, and you just do the snatch, the clean and jerk, just push them all the way kind of thing.
That's right, because, you know, again, you want to know that their temperament is there.
Yeah.
You know, how are they going to handle a little bit of pressure? Are they going to crumble? You know, and we used to get lots of visitors come down then when people come in to visit and whatever. And, you know, Joe Cow would come down with his crew and just really, just weightlifting. Like, just weightlifting. And good weightlifting, good food, good people. Like, you know, and why would you, like, if you love weightlifting, that was like best place to be is that place at that time. And I would say you're never going to have that again. It's gone.
No.
Right? I don't mean I mean that feeling of whatever that was. The feeling that it was so tight and special. And it's gone now. And you have to all create your own version of whatever you can create. Because that one was my thing that I did in my way. Right? And I do not advise anybody to do it in the same way. You've got to do it. You've got to choose your own path.
But no one else could do it like that because it wouldn't be anyone. It's you know, it's you, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's very unique.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah.
Can you remember the first unsanctioned lifting post you made? Because a lot of what I find funny is a lot of people take the terminology that like you use at Willpower or we used to use at Willpower, and it comes up in day-to-day conversation regularly with me, and I'll think, no, that was from then. And the unsanctioned lift come from a squat that I did unsanctioned on a Saturday, and you commented on my Instagram saying that it didn't count. Could you comment on that? It was a 190 squat that I did, and
what were you programmed though?
I wasn't. So I came in on a Saturday. I started squatting, and the boys were like, "Yeah, let's go." So I squatted, and I remember
training without your coach being present.
Yeah, so I back squatted. I squatted 190, stood it up, racked it, and went yes. I turned my head to the left, and you were just stood in the doorway, just looking at me. You didn't say a word. And then Monday, I came in and I walked in. I thought I may have got away with this, and you knocked on the door. And I came into your office, you said, "Oh, you think you can squat, do you?" And I said, "I don't know." And you said, "You're squatting 200 tonight." And then Tom Eaton was brave enough to say, "I'll do it with him." And we both got absolutely buried by 200. Yeah. And then we had 90% lifts after that. We were absolutely in the bin. And I remember sitting next to him going, I don't know if I could do this, but just throwing yourself under these big lifts. But then every lift from then, it was unsanctioned or sanctioned.
Sanctioned, all right. The crazy stuff, you know, like I used to try and write a hashtag that nobody would ever read. And I still have hashtags that I've created that only I have ever seen. One post. I'm like, great, I've done my job. They would, they would be that like the unsanctioned things. There would be all sorts of stuff. Excuse me. It's what's important is that no one lift is worth it, right? So that version of you that's saying to me through that training cycle, can I go, hold on. I know what you want, and I want it on comp day when you're going to deliver it, you know, for yourself, because that's when you really want it.
Yeah,
You know, and so when you are asked to go and test that temperament, who is this person? Like, let's go and test what they were. You know, that's there because you've got that kind of you're good fun to train with. Like you were moving really, like you move really well. You shift good weight. You work at a good pace. You are a good barometer of fitness because we've built you a base and there's all the So it's like go on, Charles, go and give them. Go and have a go. See what they've got in their legs or whatever, or how they, you know, where does it break down? Because I'm looking not just at technical breakdown physically, but also the mental breakdown, the fatigue of the mental stress of having to perform in this, whoever this person is. You know, they've come to this place and they've chosen it, and they've probably come because, you know, they think they know what it means to train at Willpower, and they probably don't. No. You know, they build things up in their mind and whatever it is, like, okay, have a look. Because sometimes, you know, you would perform to the, you know, the what's the comic side of whatever's been created about you. Say, okay, fine. I'll wield my cane tonight or whatever it is. I'll wear a top hat. Or,
add to the drama.
You just add to the pageantry of it, the show. Whereas most of the time I'm just sat there cold. Just just watching lifts. Going back into my office at a certain point once serious training's finished. So as soon as the squats are done, I'm gone, right? Or if there's two people squatting, I'm just whatever, back in my office, make my notes, what is fresh in my mind, look at a program and say, why was that too hard for that person tonight, or whatever it was. I'm calculating, you know, because my ability to be good for my athletes requires me to be cognizant of what's happening at all times. I don't have the time to chat the shit with whatever it is, and, you know, whilst people are on the phone roller and this, that, and the other. I have to then go back in and appraise and filter out what is not of worth, and then put in what is of worth and make my notes and put a question mark there, put an arrow there. It would be like if you've ever played chess and you like annotate chess. It's like that. All of my programs that I've written would get an annotation at some point, unless I'm keeping you in steady lane, straightforward training, right? Which is like, you know, you're just doing the reps, like you're just putting your volume in, doing the reps, building your base, and I'm just like watching the efficiency. I don't need to make notes of that. I'm giving you a training program that you should be able to complete, you know, comfortably, and then get more efficient, because I'm doing that first. I'm doing efficiency first, giving you easy volume to handle fatigue. And then I'm going to start, as you gain more efficiency, I'm going to start to like fatten things out, and then send Charlie over and like take that one for a ride. Go on. But that's lovely, isn't it? Because you are like, that says to you that you are respected, and I trust you to go and do a good job there. I wouldn't send a reckless person over there because they'd be fucking right? No chance. We got loads of soul stories. Anyway, next.
I quite like the one you've wrote there, Charlie. Where did your love for heat and cold therapy come from? The sauna / waterfalls, etc.
That was well, I was doing a lot of self-study around 2016, 17. So I was investing a lot in certain like spaces in the fitness world, you know, which were alternative, if you like. And I commit myself to like doing a 16-week course in, you know, just the body and how the body functions and all that stuff. And they would go through different therapies, and we go through, you know, illnesses and, you know, fitness. It wasn't about weightlifting or fitness per se, but it was about the body and the mind. And I was just like, yeah, I'll do that course for X time. And I think it was Poland, 2018, I think it was. I think it was 2018 Poland. The Polaki trip with Bethany, Twain, myself, and Jordan was lifting. That was a good comp. He had a good comp there, and he was almost 6 foot, and that was a fucking good comp. Anyway, we had a sauna because I wanted to find a traditional Polish village. So I called my veg supplier at Paweł, who I still use to this day.
I met Paweł. He came to Abergavenny, yeah.
That's it. Yeah, and I said to Paweł, I said, right, speak to Polaki land for me and tell them what I want. So I called up Poland, rang up a random place and he spoke to them. He said, he wants this. And I can hear her going, like, obviously knowing Polish, whatever. Right? So, but she said, I know exactly where for him to go. she recommended the Museum of Polish Heritage, right? And you could stay there. You could live it was literally straw mattresses. It was awful sleeping, but had a sauna.
Yeah.
And we had a sauna twice a day, me and Tom, right? We'd do suitcase lifting for training, right? We'd squat for 10 minutes, we'd lift a suitcase, and then we'd take a sauna, and then we'd go and watch weightlifting, right? It was brilliant. So that was, and I thought to myself, I have to build a sauna now. So within 3 months, I built a sauna. It was like, I know, and I had the shower block that was like moldy and nobody used it and all the rest of it. So I gutted that and then thought, I'm going to buy a sauna from Finland, which I did. I imported a Finnish sauna and I just made it and just built it. It's like, yeah, that'll do.
I remember you telling stories about it. I think it was the correlation between like sperm count and things like that from these Scandinavian countries, and because they had saunas.
I did a little bit of research on what are the benefits of sauna.
Yeah.
Well, there are no downsides, right, to sauna. And if you think if you think your testicles when they get heated in the sauna don't function after, then look to the highest birth rates in Europe, and it would be the Finns and it would be the Swedes and the Norwegians, etc. It's probably different now because of other factors, but at the time it was like, yes, great. So we got it, built it, and then we started doing. We went to Brecon Waterfall, started doing plunges there, whatever. Again, Willpower day out, wasn't it? Do you remember?
Yeah.
We'd everybody would turn up on a Sunday. I'd fucking make food, obviously. There'd be sausages and things. We'd have thing, and then we'd all be in the thing. Ollie Reese would be like commando fucking style. He would be like challenging himself to doing fucking 15 minutes. And I'm like, do we need hypothermia now?
Yeah.
So everybody would start come up the waterfalls and the thing, and post training sauna. Sauna was always on. It was just
always on.
It was always on. I burnt it like day, and of course that was the first time I wasn't cold.
Yeah.
Right.
Fair.
So
It's
it was a secondary benefit to me.
Yeah.
In as much as I was getting my sauna, but also I could just go in there at 2:00 in the afternoon and just sit in the sauna in my clothes.
I walked in one time and you were there on a deck chair on a summer's day with one of those sort of like mirrors you hold up, sunning yourself, and you were like, I've earned this, Sam. I've earned this. I'll get whatever. And just sat there as we went in and trained.
That doesn't sound like a thing that I would
It was
do.
out of the ordinary, but it definitely happened.
Yeah.
The other thing, there's always been a bit of a, the silver things that just reflect the sun into your face. Anyway, there was always a bit of a correlation between like the holistic quote unquote side to recovery, and not so much training, but food and diet, and it was always very, you eat real food, we don't have protein shakes and none of that shit. And I always wanted to ask you, there was a thing you mentioned years ago about Mr. Kellogg's, something to do with the food quality getting so poor over the years, and something to do with
This has taken quite a turn. Well, Mr. Kellogg had an institution.
I'm so glad you remember it. I thought you were going to say I don't know what you're on about. Yeah.
And I do remember, like, so the Kellogg Institution, where I think he's dead now, so I'm safe, right? Anyway, he basically developed cornflakes to neuter young boys'
Testosterone.
no desire to masturbate.
Right.
Oh,
Okay.
wow.
So
Okay.
in his institution,
Yeah.
he was a real sort of like whatever they call those people that don't like masturbating children, right? Not personally, but
No. Yeah. I know,
so
yeah.
anyway, he's like, right, we have to stop this. And so he developed something to lower the libido, etc. He did awful things, mind, right? It wasn't, the cornflakes was the least worst he did.
Yeah.
Like, he mutilated people, it was dreadful. But this is like
The same Kellogg's that produced fucking
yes,
cornflakes.
the
Yeah.
same Kellogg's, We've got a little bit tinfoil hat here.
No, I know,
Sam.
but I just always wanted to bring
we
it
can
up.
go for it. Doesn't matter.
So my philosophy was if it's got mud on it and it bled, eat it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's pretty simple, right? All the other stuff that comes processed or packaged, we're not eating that.
Yeah.
Again, one of my skills as a human being, I suppose, is my ability to cook fucking delicious food. So I thought everyone ate like that. I didn't realize people didn't fucking eat like whole food. I had no idea. Geordie's only ever eaten whole food. Spencer rang me the other morning, my son. Dad, do you mind if I have a steak for breakfast? No problem. I'm in the market. He can cook a medium rare steak. Fucking no problem. So he's had fucking ribeye steak for breakfast.
Happy days.
Yeah.
That's so it came from not the Kellogg story per se, but the fact that I didn't understand people didn't eat whole food, but delicious whole foods. Like,
Yeah.
you don't eat like this all the time. Like
You
weightlifting
can't really go
breakfast-
wrong though. Apart from it costs an arm and a leg now. There's no downside to only eating real food if you're happy with the quality of that food. There's no negative to it.
Yeah, that's it. And like you can find a more efficient way of eating. You can do it. You can get high quality ingredients, and you can do it in a way that gives you all of the things that you need of benefit without it going crazy on your wallet, as it were.
Faggots, I always remember you saying about
Faggots,
from the
so
from the
offal
butchers.
is ideal. So Donnie, fucking, Jesus, Justin, these faggots, right? And so we do dirty rice. We do chopped up faggots with rice, onions, because his name is dirty rice. Apparently in Louisiana, it would be with chicken giblets and all the rest of it,
yeah.
all the dark bits. And then you put them in the rice that's left over or whatever it was. I was like, fuck, we can make that with faggots, Donnie.
Yeah.
And so we started making like faggots and rice, perfect for a weightlifter. Loads of fucking protein, all the offal, high in B vitamins and all the rest of it. Exactly what you need to rebuild, ligaments, tendons, muscle fibers, fascia and all the rest of it. And rice, weightlifter's best friend, isn't it? Basmati rice. Fucking shovel it down.
100%.
You know. So I suppose one of the things that sort of just like went hand in glove with willpower was the food.
The food.
Yeah.
That I'm going to imagine if anybody at my house, they remember a good fucking feast.
Yeah.
Or at the gym in the
Oh,
back
yeah.
days, when we had the red brick and I decked it out. It's like fucking.
It was just what you couldn't. Yeah, one of a kind. That was the what was it? The wraps you used to make after, like the breakfast wraps after training or before training.
Yeah.
The Sarah still makes one now. The chicken wraps you used to make.
Yeah, I made that lamb.
Yeah,
shoulder.
lamb. Yeah.
So I cooked a load of lamb shoulders, chopped it all up, and did I put them in like I think I made like lamb sourdough sandwiches.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
they were fucking awesome.
And this, like, just for the listeners, this is like every weekend.
Every
weekend.
Every
So
weekend,
when you talk about a gym that's not a gym, like it was so much more than just a place to train. Some people go there generally just to eat food, eat good food.
Yeah. Joe Cow used to bring those Stokies. What are they called?
Yeah. Oh,
the wheat Stokies or whatever. I always get the name
yeah.
wrong, Joe, if you're listening. But he'd bring down these Stokies or whatever, and they'd be like these wheat cakes. And so then I'd do bacon, sausage, egg, maple syrup, and make it into like an American wrap thing.
Yeah.
It was just delicious.
But you would feed the 500. It would be
Whoever was there,
everyone would walk
who's
in.
having breakfast,
just in.
Yeah.
do
just
a head
in,
count.
just in, yeah.
Right, everyone, £5 each or whatever it was.
Yeah.
I just guess the cost, or let's go and get it and then divide it by
Figure
the
it
thing.
out after.
And then of course you got the 3 platers, you got the 2 platers and the 1 platers. Haven't you?
Yeah.
Fucking Theo 3 plates. He's all got a bit more. I remember, fuck off, Theo. That person's only had 1, and you're in your fucking 4th, like.
I remember being I think it was one of the girls' parties they had at Willpower, and it was like a fucking PlayStation and stuff like that. And I walked in, and you said, "Do you want some steak, Sam?" And I said no, being polite because I thought it was the right thing to do. And you said, "You mean yes?" And forced the steak on me, and it was the most fucking delicious steak I've ever had in my entire life. And I thought, how have you done this? I would buy the same steak and butcher it.
Yeah.
Well, I put a kitchen in, and of course I'm thinking to myself, well, I'm here all day, I must just fucking slow cook some food.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh.
So I bought all the gastro trays and everything, and I just started slow cooking stuff and just like whatever, I do ox cheeks, I do fucking whatever. However my brain thought, I'd
went with it.
light the fire in the red brick, cook some food, when we had the red brick. But other than that, it would be after training everybody would be at my house. Spencer would be up on the climbing frame, sat there jumping on someone's bollocks at fucking 2.5 years old. It would just be everyone's back. Kitty would have everything. The fire would be lit, and she'd be like, "Everything's ready. Oh, hello, weightlifters!" Mothering everyone. Yeah. And then there'd be somebody who'd want to help me cook, and then there'd be like everyone else is just like fucking sat there talking weightlifting, complaining about weightlifting, or talking about training, complaining about training, whatever it was. House full, and at 1 minute to 12 I would just go, everyone fuck off out. I have now topped up to here. I'm done. Everyone leave, goodbye. Otherwise they wouldn't fucking leave. Tiberius would be there all afternoon. I said, Nick, you gotta fucking go. Like, come on, out. Family time now. All of you suckling fucking my tits. Because honestly, that's what weightlifters are like when it's family like that. They just want to be around you.
Yeah. You talked about Geordie's comp in Poland. Was there any competitions that are more memorable for you from him, from Mikey, from certain individuals?
Well, the Commonwealth one is there because that was the last time I coached him as well. So that one has a significance to me. It's like, yeah, that was us. Early days Willpower, I suppose, 2016. But that was like Malaysia, wheelchair. That was the one that established, I think, the gym as a sort of player. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
It was like I wasn't doing anything remote then. It was nothing. That was just all in gym. It was just like real fucking like determination, focus, stay in the gym, and then I suppose as the sort of competitions went on, like Michael's achievement to snatch a British senior record. I thought that was fucking because that's my only British record. I suppose. So that was fantastic. Geordie winning the British seniors. It's like okay.
The first or second time or both?
The second one.
The second
one. The first one, which was like okay, fine, but it was a bit of it was that odd time. But the second one was bona fide. He was in the
mixer, yeah.
And he had all the competition there, and he went out and put a kilo on.
Yeah,
it's like that's it. You want to be the last clean and jerker, putting the kilo on. You literally want to do what he did.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
And he did it perfectly, and you were it couldn't have been scripted any better.
No,
it was there as well. It was a qualifier for the games as well. Don't forget. So there was a lot riding on that, and he put himself up and. Probably his best ever competition in all things considered.
Yeah.
Selfishly for me, it's the one that we did together last and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
When he was a youngster. But for, the grand schema, I suppose, that was just a beautiful, there you go. And couldn't be any more Willpower than what happened. And again, it was the last of the hurrahs before the world blew up, if you like.
I think that's I made a clip of it and I sent it to you, the back and forth of you and Nick commentating over it and then the real life footage of it. And it's the one clip that I've made because obviously we make clips and I'll rewatch and I'll just get bored of listening. And that's the one clip that I've made that would give me goosebumps every single time you watch it. It's just, can't explain that moment.
I think you could understand what it meant to everybody. Like that sort of like, says to you, it meant a lot to us.
Yeah.
And it was, so, but like there's so many competitions, like so many people. I was thinking about like things, Theo hit him 140 in the gym that first time. It's like fucking, and I remember I hugged him and I regretted it only in as much as he was the sweatiest right? And I got covered and he's fucking kissing me. I'm like covered in his sweat. I'm like, God, I'm so proud of him, but I'm fucking drenched now in his fucking sweat. Loads, so many things, and and there you go. You want to you develop your athletes, you do your programming, technical knowledge, and all that shit. But then we're talking about fucking like a chicken wrap and what it meant for and this, that, and the other.
It's much more.
Your memories of like what happens are more about the personal side of things than they are about the whatever but you've got to get it to that stage, and that's why I say if you're lucky you get 10 people who want to share something like that. I had fucking hundreds over the years, because every iteration was the same but different. It just was different because the people were slightly different, and I probably got a little bit more fucking scatty as the years went on. It's like, we can do that. Fucking let's do this. Let's put that there. Let's build a bar. Fucking let's. We're just gonna do it, right?
Yeah.
And it's I don't think I asked permission at all.
No, just went with it. Yeah. No, I think. How long are we going? 2 hours. You got any more? 2 hours.
I haven't even fucking talked about what I want to talk about.
Go on,
go for it. Go on. Let's talk. Let's talk.
Fucking hell.
Let's talk.
Right.
Open the book.
Look, beautifully written.
I'm probably more into this than anything we would have had for you, to be honest.
So
this is for the listeners and viewers. So this was something that you made for when you were doing a seminar in Australia.
Yeah. But this is the bit I want to do today, which is not that.
Okay.
Do you get coaches watching, listening?
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely.
Right. Okay. So as a coach, you're going to be limited by, as a beginner, your knowledge, right, and your volume of lifting. You just unless lifting being whatever you're coaching people to do, whether it be the sport or whatever it is, your understanding of the thing that you're coaching. So we'll keep it barbell related, if you like.
Yeah.
So if you've chosen to become a coach, then you need to see a lot of lifting that is high quality, and or shadow somebody who understands lifting with high quality, etc. You need that volume. You have to get your eyes developed, right? You've got to know what it looks like, sounds like, feels like, right? Hopefully you're lifting yourself and whatever. And then your technical knowledge, your technical understanding of what should be happening, when and how, right? That is everything that you need to know about the first 5 years of your life, is that. You observe it, you suck, because, like, how many hours do you do a day coaching?
Anywhere from 8 to 12.
8 to 12, right? And how many athletes will you see in a day?
8 to 12.
8.
Well, if I'm
8 to 12 per session?
So if it's 1-to-1,
Yeah.
8 to 12 hours, 8 to 12
Yeah.
people, maybe
Yeah.
doubles. If I'm coaching the class, I might see 80 people in a
Okay.
day.
So if you think that every individual, right, so every hour you're going to see roughly 120 barbell movements, warm-ups, working weights, blah, 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 120 movements.
Yeah.
And you do that and you've got 10 in a day or whatever it is, it's 1,000 movements a day, all right? If you do a class, then you might be seeing 2,000 or 3,000.
Yeah.
So that's your day, and then you want your week. So in a week, you've got 25,000 movements, right? This is the volume you need. So when I was coaching 50 people a day, seeing whatever it was, I was seeing 5 to 10,000, whatever it was a day. You can't, it's volume.
Yeah.
I was thinking to myself, about how quickly you develop as a coach, and everyone's different, obviously. But if you're not hitting the volume, if you're just cooking one steak a day, you're not going to make it as a chef, right? You need to be cooking 50 fucking steaks a day under pressure. You need to know what it's like to do that. So in volume world, in coaching, because you're going to start to apply your knowledge of what you know, which will be not as great as when you're 10 years in the sport, let's hope, right? You're going to have limited knowledge and limited volume, and it's the hardest time to make decisions.
Yeah.
So go back to you base it on what you know and what is reasonable. So you have to make really safe, strategic decisions. And how you do that then becomes like this. So what is the reason of the movement, right? So in other words, it's going to be a mechanical reason, it's going to be a structural reason, or it's going to be a physical reason, right? So mechanics are my joints and bones and all the rest of it, and I can really alter that. If I've got a hyperextended elbow, you can't just suddenly say, stop hyperextending your elbow.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
It is what it is. These are your mechanics. And your structure is a combination of your mechanics and your muscle, right? So, for example, if you think about your lower back, right? You'd be like, well, you've got quite a long back as a lifter. So that's going to have a different structural impact upon you than it does on Charlie, and so on and so forth. So you're looking at the structure and saying what's affected by the structure. Well, it could just be no load. People can have poor structures. And so you're going to make your decisions based on what you're seeing structurally with a combination of their physical attributes and the mechanical attributes. The physical attributes are literally their strength and the capacity of their muscles to apply, the requisite movement and forces, etc. So that sounds, I hope it doesn't sound complicated.
No, it's not.
But it sounds like you have to base it on that, right? And there is a hierarchy that I developed with Nathan Bird when we were writing Bird Box. So you have the structures, mechanical, physical, or mechanical, physical, structural, yes. And then you have the order in which you pay attention. So the first thing you do is contact. You look at the bar, or you look at where their hands are, where their feet are, whatever's contacting the equipment, the ground, whatever it is, contact's your first point of call, right? Then you look at their balance, then their breathing, and then their stillness, and then their tension, and then their smoothness. And that is literally it, and you just... So these are things that you're going to be doing all the fucking time, right? So if you focus on, I don't know, moving faster without having good contact with the bar, then we've just got things out of order. Right? If you're considering how they're breathing when the fucking bar's lopsided, then we've got things out of order, right? You need to go in the order of the hierarchy of these things, these movement principles, if you like. So when you're developing your eyes and your knowledge, if you based it on those things and then ask yourself the questions like, what am I going to do about this person squatting or lifting, deadlifting or snatching or overhead squatting? you have something to make a very good decision based on what you're seeing, right? Are they in balance?
Yeah.
Yes, they are. Are they not? These are simple things. We do it all the time. And then the next stage of your development as an intermediate coach is that you have a deeper understanding of the effect of your programming on these applied structures, right? Because if you're from years 1 to 3, you're going to be coaching beginner athletes, and there's no program for beginner athletes other than please turn up in the gym and I'm going to keep you safe, right? That's the program.
Yeah.
Like, we're going to learn the skills and develop you along, right? You've been there, pretty straightforward. Next, though, is now we have to apply some programming, design, structure, etc. to the training. Otherwise, we're not going to, the early gains are gone. We now have to do a little bit of strategy. We have to say, right, okay, guess what? The fundamental things of how you're doing it haven't changed. Structural, physical, mechanical will always be there, and the hierarchy never changes, right? So the thing that affects the hierarchy is loading, right? That affects your structure is loading.
Yep.
I could just make the weight heavier and fucking crush you, like the 200 kilo squat, blah, 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 blah. It crushed you, physically, because we hadn't built up enough blah, 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 right? So, and then when you get to an advanced, then you're thinking about 10-year strategy developments, right? But you're not going to miss out on these things. You have to do these things first, then this thing, and then the next. So that was my sort of like, ooh, let's talk about that. I have no idea if anybody talks about it. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. No. But it's something that coaching, you shouldn't be intimidated by doing coaching. We all have periods of time in coaching where we don't feel worthy of the title, or we think, fuck, do I know what I'm doing here? Like, this is a pretty fucking serious person.
Yeah.
This is a serious situation. Have I got what it takes? Yes, you do. But let's think about how you're considering to create a solution, right? You know where we're going in terms of the competition date or whatever the athlete's goal is and their focus. So make it reasonable. How do they move? What is the quality of their movement? What is the understanding and the education of myself in terms of what I understand about the quality of movement? Like, for example, it's unlikely that I'm going to teach tackle technique, right? I don't know anything about tackling. So I'm not the person to ask. Excuse me. Edit that out. Gosh, I'm not the person to ask about tackle technique. I'm the person to ask about improving the back squat and their hip range and the strength in their quads and whatever to get a better tackle technique. So I'm looking at the way my son tackles. I suppose the other boys, he's got to go down a long way, and so on and so forth. No, I'm good. So it's like, what are you basing your decisions on? How well do you trust yourself technically, practically? Because you've got to then communicate it, and that's a whole different world of, you're a quieter person. I'm quiet in strategies, but I'm not quiet. I'm much bolder in terms of
I agree.
And you've always been that way.
Yeah.
So you have to use your temperament in a way that communicates to an athlete who may, I don't know, enjoy like forthright thing. It would be false from you to start speaking this way, and vice versa. So you have to learn your voice and be authentic. But it doesn't alter the structure of what you're basing your decisions on, right? Because every organism is the same in terms of mechanical, structural, physical. It's all the same, right? Their biomechanics alter, absolutely. So we have to have a good understanding of solid, clean things, contact, balance, breath, right? Tension.
Yeah.
You know yourselves, right? When somebody breathes in a squat, and so my philosophy is you breathe without moving your shoulders. I'm not a fan of picking the bar up, breathe in, and then coming back down and thinking that's the breath. Personal taste, right? I could probably argue a strong case for it, which I should be able to do, right? But I like people to settle and breathe, right? I like to see that structure, okay? So what's going to affect that is their ability to coordinate, understand, and feel their breath. And I've got to get you to feel the movement. Feel it. Can you feel it? Can you feel it? Tap, 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 tap. How many times have I hit somebody with the cane to say this, no, yes, this, this, this? When you draw a line down a squat from your shoulders to your to the midfoot, to your balance point, where that muscle is here, right, the length of that femur, I point on that thing because that is the contraction they want on the concentric. I want you to feel that because you're not going to feel it on the eccentric. You're going to feel that contraction on the concentric. And I'm going to poke my finger on the muscle until I see you activate it, and I can tell you can keep a straight line. Right, there it is. There's the line. Because you can't come off that line, because that's where your foot is, and that's where your balance is, and that's where the bar is. And any deviation on that now is coming pressure on the fulcrum, right? So you're going to save the athlete a lot of pain, stress, blah, 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 but you're going to make the right muscles work in coordination. That's what this all does. And again, I don't know how complicated that sounds. It sounds pretty straightforward to me. It's easier when you demonstrate it and fucking hit somebody. Don't recommend you do that. But
No.
it is, that's why it's pokey time. Coaching is like
most people respond better to a feeling than a cue,
100%,
don't they?
yes.
You can say a really complicated cue, they have no idea. But if you put someone in a position,
balance.
say, hold it, feel it,
yes,
what's that?
Yes, balance, yes. And again, you just bring forward something you bring forward a sensation, because they can hear what the sensation should be, and then they can go, oh yes, I can feel that, it's balance. And 9 times out of 10, it's going to be balance. Like most things, weight creates a distribution of unbalancedness. Like that's what it does. You're off balance. You're brought forward by something. The weight is taking you forward. You're out of balance. So you need the other attributes in order to counter where the weight wants to take you, etc. There we are.
It's quite nice hearing it put like that, because it can sound complicated, but when you think about what you actually do as coaches, and I don't know if you felt the same then, but if you're saying this is the order of what you correct, I always think, right, what is the biggest issue you need to fix first before you can then start looking at the other one? So if the bar, like you said, was skew if, you never think about anything else other than why is it doing that and how do we fix that?
That's right.
Going forward.
You can't load that structure, right? So that's reckless of me to load you. If I can see it, I can't load that.
Yeah.
I have to, like your wonky overhead position. Tom came over and said, look, have a look at this with Charlie. And we did a lot of standing behind you watching. We made you sit in a overhead squat, made you stand up slowly, had a little look. Because, of course, I don't have eyes inside your body.
No.
I don't know. I'm just going to say, right, I think if we externally rotate here, I'm going to see his foot more balanced. So, right, do this for me, Charlie. Just rotate that. And then I'm going to see his hips go. And then does that make a difference there? It took us a while, right?
Yeah.
And so you're seeing it, you're responsible for it, and then you don't have a solution as such. You have a working strategy to say, okay, let's start here, start there. Let's look at the things. How is he holding the bar? You had a nice wide-eyed grip, which tends to bring the shoulder inside anyway. So does that make a difference?
Yeah.
I would rotate your biceps up.
Yeah,
I'd just go, right, give me this, Charles. Right, give me that. And you manipulate the organism until you're seeing it there. How does it feel? Feels awful, right? Does it feel straight?
Yeah.
No, I feel wonky. Of course, because it
feels totally
you've
different.
been lopsided.
Straight, yeah.
You think lopsided is straight, and now to put you straight, you feel, and it doesn't take many reps before you start to connect what the brain considers to be straight and what the organism is able to do. And it is a case of, if they've got good mechanical range, creating tension in some muscles and relaxing others. Because we've got this happening, we've got a torsion happening, and it's pulling the body into a different place for whatever fucking reason. But I've got to even it out. I've got to create less over here, more over here, pull the thing around, and then let's see if we can start going up and down. Because I remember, thinking back to this now, I would then put the bar on your back and have a look at the alignment. And say, well, if he's fucking skew if overhead squatting, what's his back squat like? And your back squat was always really nice.
Yeah.
Like, well, he doesn't do it in back squat land. So what does that mean? Right?
Yeah.
Again,
you can't rush. I think all the things you're saying, I think where coaches can get a little bit, where they second guess themselves, is they rush that process. You can't rush, like you said, it takes, like you said, all that thought of change the foot, change the wrist, change the bicep, but it's the questions constantly being asked that allow you to answer it, rather than just assuming and go, right, like you usually say, just hammer it in, see if it works. And a lot of the time, it doesn't. You just need to spend that extra time.
You're looking at multiple planes simultaneously. So you're looking at the axial plane. You're looking at the line from one wrist to one foot. You're looking at the whole thing, right? Because it's a structure with a bar on the top that's being loaded, and it's going to deform at some point. So we've got to make the structure really robust, and that takes time. So as we're talking about this, a coach might validly say, well, how the fuck can I do that in a CrossFit class? And I'd say, well, you really can't do that effectively. You can do a little bit of it, right? And you can just say, let's work on this. Well, what did I tell you last time to focus on? Right, good. Okay, how is it feeling? Yes, show me it on the warm up. Lovely. That's it. Work on that.
Yeah.
It takes time.
That's
And that would be the I would put the onus on the athlete because I forget everything. right?
Yeah.
I just say, what did we do last time? Because do you remember I would say to somebody, write that down and then tell me the next session.
Yeah.
Because I'm making decisions all the time. You need to write down what I've seen, and this is important. And now come in and tell me about it next time I see you, which is like tomorrow.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna have a. Like,
But you've got to do that with 50
first dates. I'm
people,
gonna have
yeah.
a fucking completely fresh brain. Right? Where are we at? What are we doing? You know? But that's you. I had the ability in my gym to control all the variables when it came to distribution, load, workouts, etc. Whereas if you're a sort of invitational coach to another space and your job is to take a session or whatever it is, it may be different. But the principle of keeping them safe and loading the structure sensibly is absolutely, you can't. Otherwise, I'm now going to create an injury, a stress over time.
Yeah.
You know? So it's about taking the responsibility nice and seriously, not overwhelmed by it. What are you seeing? Is everything in alignment, in order? Is the athlete in balance? You know, and then just doing it bit by bit.
Yeah, you can't rush that process either of them accepting the cue either as well. You know,
No.
you can't. When people would say, when do I change a cue, or when should I change a cue? And as well, if the original cue isn't right yet,
Right. So that part of it is I've got like a triangle. So firstly, can they feel it? So if you can get the athlete to feel it, that's great. Can they repeat it? In other words, how many repetitions is it going to take the athlete to really know this shape, movement, position, whatever it is, right? And then I make them responsible for it. I'm responsible for the first two parts.
Yeah.
So I get you to feel it, and then I observe you doing it, and then you get the yes, the no, whatever, and then you get the, if you can fucking do it, why
Why
don't you
don't
do
you
it?
do it? Yeah.
Then you get that, because you're responsible now.
Yeah.
And we just fucking did it for 6 months. I watched you every fucking day doing it. And now what, you fucking forgetting? Because weightlifters or trainers have amnesia. They move on to the next thing and forget the last thing, but the last thing's a fundamental principle. I never want you will carry this on forward absolutely every fucking day of your training life. This is something that you never let go. You don't just go, I've gone to go 200 pounds and then you move on to the next. You take it with you, right? You don't indulge yourself, you take it with you and make sure that, because that is, if it's the foot balance, like for example, why would you change your foot balance for a front squat as a back squat, or, you know, because you're doing this or that or the other? You keep it the fucking same. You don't just change it. It's called balance, you know, and so on and so forth. So it's something that you can control some of it. Not if it's your space, you can only impart a little bit. The willingness of the athlete, if you're just coming in, you don't really know them that much, and you're trying to give them some help, again, keep it nice and simple for them. You know, if you're developing a long-term relationship like you've got with your athletes, then there's trust, and there's, you know, that's an important part of the development also. But the physical side of things, my biggest not concern or fear, whatever, but if people don't see it enough, they don't see enough high-quality lifting to know the difference between not high-quality lifting and quality lifting to know exactly what to base it on.
Yeah.
I think you can go the other way though as well, and you can have almost too much elite level. So you're watching, all you consume is the all things gym and the weightlifting house, and you see the Team Russia, Team Bulgaria, and then you walk into a, let's say, a CrossFit gym or an average gym, and they don't move like that because they're not the elite of the elite. That you can almost expect too much from the average Joe, you know?
Well, I would say, look, if you watch, remember the old black and white Russian thing in slow motion that we all watched? And it was from fucking 1960, whatever. It's just the most beautiful thing. The guy doing the power snatch or whatever it was. It's just it's beautiful. And they've got all these lines, and they've got a grid there, and they filmed it in ultra slow motion back in the day. And he's lifting, and it's a beautiful technique, right? It's lovely. I'll bet you that his mechanics are good, his structure's good, his physical side is good. I bet you he's got good contact, balance, breath. He's got all of these things. All of them are happening in unison. You need to know, if you're watching elite lifters, that's great. You're watching it done all like this perfectly, right? When you go in and you go, oh, I've got a fucking, you know, I got a car with the door hanging off, and like there's Formula One over there, and I got a puncture. Yes, but you still have to. These things don't alter.
No, absolutely
whatsoever.
Do you know what I think I wish people could see more about the standard of lifting, and I noticed this one. I remember I trained with you one morning, and the session, it was in and out in 45 minutes, and you were like, that's how it's fucking done. Don't drag it out. We're not an hour and a half. You just get tired. Is that some people,
you'll watch them train, and it'll just be like 6, 7, 8 minutes of just faffing about or on their phone or things between sets, as opposed to this is your rest period. Get on with it. You've got a job to do.
Very big on no Wi-Fi and no phones.
Yeah,
for a long time.
There was no signal anyway.
No,
I always question, was that by design or was
no,
it just
it's still no signal down there. You can't drive down that part of Pontypool without there being no signal, right? But it was a black hole. And it was great because we just had my one playlist that I played for years
on
until
the Lenko, was it the box?
Lenko,
the Lenko box, yeah.
Lenko Bluetooth box that never worked. Like it was
the
technology ever. So in this reasonable question, the athletes only got so much energy every day. They've only got a certain amount of energy. Where are we purposing the energy, right? Because again, and I'm talking about meaningful training, right? Snatches, squats, cleans, or push pressing and deadlifting. You've only got so much energy bench pressing for those big ones. They got loads of energy for accessories, right? Whatever. Right? Knock yourself out. But for the big stuff, right? You've got a limited amount of energy, and that will burn out in X time, right? Your blood sugar will store, and then it'll just get used up and you can't replenish it. So that's why people have their pre-workout thing and their intra-workout, whatever it is. But you're just like having a boost. You're not having real ATP stores back in your blood.
Yeah.
So the reason you keep it short is for that very reason. It keeps you focused, it keeps you targeted, and it creates a pace and a tempo to your training. Otherwise, you'll be cooled down by the time you get to your second. And it's like, no, when I'd write a program, I'd write it to build up into like a crescendo. You know, I generally choose the most technical thing first, or the thing that requires the most speed, then the thing that is second on that list, and then we go into some strength. I didn't do that personally because I like to squat first, as I said, but it never affected me. I lifted first, and it was always poor. Right, so
but that's knowing your athletes, isn't it?
Yes, you know. So if it was whatever, so I've got my order of, you know, I put power snatches in first or whatever it is. Then we're doing the next thing, and then we're doing the squats or the pulls or whatever. And it's like, well, how long do you need? Isn't it? Like you got a 10-minute warm up. You've got 10 minutes to do snatches, 10 minutes to do your cleans, 10 minutes to do your fucking squats. 40 minutes, fucking done. That's it. All done. Anything else is like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like what have you been doing here? You know. So I would argue that the snatches may take 12 and the cleans might take 8. You know, because you're already warm and you boom. People don't like to do a lot of reps on cleans. They like to get to the fucking get the working
Get to the end. Yeah.
Get to the end. I mean, again, you know, it depends if you're having to take a 2 or 3 minute rest between doing clean jerk. I will respect the fact that you may need a bit of rest there.
Yeah.
You know, and so on. So, but you get a click on. You get into your training, get a click on, get it fucking done. Do your accessories, done.
Yeah. I said to one of my athletes yesterday, actually, he was doing it every minute on the minute. And I said, you have to keep the intensity of the every minute on the minute and live in that feeling of your heart rate's up. You have to keep that. If you miss a lift, that's fine, but stay on it. Don't go faffing around, sitting down. It is when that minute clicks, don't give yourself an extra 10 seconds rest. On that minute, you lift and you thrive in that. You're not thinking, you're moving. It's everything is up, and
you're not thinking.
you're just in it, and
we get it. You're fucking panting. You're blowing. Yes,
it's fine. Just keep going.
Keep going. Right, and you know, again, you're trying to distract them with those on the minutes into a rhythm of lifting.
Yeah,
right, because you know when I think it was the competition that you snuck in. When he had to go out after having a fag, after ringing me or whatever it was, and fucking both of us in tears, and then you're like, Johnny, you've got to get a click on. So he goes 40, 70, whatever it was.
Yeah, 3 jumps to get to max weights.
Because you're going to be fucking blowing.
Yeah.
And in those days when he was carrying a bit of custard, you know, he would. He was a big boy. He would blow. You know. So again, we're there to. Training is about conditioning. And perhaps a final thing, because we're at 2.5 hours, whatever. Yeah. I got all day.
I could be here till tomorrow.
Would be the reason training serious is because competition is fucking more serious, right? And if you don't practice like you compete, then the day you go and compete, you will have wished you paid attention for all those fucking reps that you just fucking took for granted. And so for example, if you're practicing kicking as a rugby player, you take it like the game. You rep is a skill that you can control, and so when you're in the game, it doesn't matter what's happening. You can just do it, and it's the same for lifting. You absolutely train with intensity and standard because you fucking need it on big comp day.
Well,
You
even going
absolutely
through
have
it in
that.
your head of envisioning where you're at, what you're seeing in front of you, X, Y, and Z, so it's not a shock in the moment.
Correct.
You know, it
Yeah.
really does matter.
Yeah.
You know, people have their own way of preparing. I don't mind as long as I'm seeing 6ers and 5ers,
Yeah,
gold
yeah.
medals. You know, like I never really got too involved in the way, you know, Michael would chastise himself, right? Like, fucking hell,
Still
Mike.
does.
It's like, all right, calm it down. You know, Geordie would fucking headbutt everybody or whatever. And, you know, so different people had different styles of, you know, warming up and preparing themselves for the commitment really to themselves in the bar. You know, it is a commitment you're going to make. You're going to go under the fucking heaviest load you've ever lifted on the last lift when you're the most fatigued.
Yeah.
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 Like that's weightlifting, isn't it? And some people can do it, and some people need to practice it more and or train more to be able to do it. You know, that's why you see great lifters lifting, and that's why it's in all for us, because we know how fucking challenging to be at your most fatigued and lift the biggest
still
weight
do
for
it.
goals. That's
Yeah.
fucking that's it. In a nutshell, that's all weightlifting is the last clean and jerk.
Yeah.
I think that's the perfect way to end it.
Thank you very much, Justin.
Yeah.
It's,
Pleasure.
It's been on the bucket list for us, I think,
Yes.
since we started. So,
Thank you very much.
thank you very much.
There we are. Look at that.
Lovely job.
Oh.
Perfect.